Sociology Semester 3. Answer in 2 sentences. 1. Define sociology. Sociology is the systematic study of human society, social relationships, and social institutions. It examines how individuals interact within groups and how society shapes human behavior. Sociology uses scientific methods such as observation, surveys, and comparative analysis. It aims to understand patterns of social life and the forces that bring stability or change. Example: studying why certain communities have higher crime rates helps law students understand the social roots of crime. 2. Sociology, concept expanded. Sociology views society as a network of interactions among individuals and institutions. It focuses on both micro-level behavior, everyday interactions, and macro-level structures, institutions, law, economy. It highlights how norms, values, and culture regulate behavior. Sociology also investigates inequality, power, and social justice. Example: a BA LL.B student studies how legal institutions influence social order, such as how courts maintain rule of law. 3. Any 2 features of sociology. First, sociology is a scientific discipline, using empirical evidence to study society. Second, sociology adopts a holistic perspective, examining all aspects of social life: family, law, economy, politics, and culture. It focuses on groups rather than isolated individuals. It also emphasizes patterns, trends, and social structures that influence behavior. Example: when analyzing domestic violence, sociology studies family structure, gender norms, and legal systems, not just individual actions. 4. Is sociology a science? Discuss. Sociology is a science because it uses systematic methods like surveys, observation, and statistical analysis. It forms theories, tests hypotheses, and seeks objective explanations of social behavior. However, it differs from natural sciences because human behavior is subjective and changeable. Its conclusions are probabilistic rather than universal laws. Example: criminology uses scientific methods to study crime patterns, which helps lawmakers create evidence-based policies. 5. Characteristics of social norms. Social norms are rules and expectations that guide behavior in society. They are mostly unwritten but widely understood and followed. Norms vary across cultures and change over time. They promote social order by regulating acceptable behavior. Example: removing footwear before entering a temple is a cultural norm, violating it may cause social disapproval but not legal punishment. 6. 1. Theory of origin of society, social contract theory. Social contract theory states that society was formed when individuals willingly agreed to cooperate and establish rules. Thinkers like Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau argued that people gave up some freedoms in exchange for protection and stability. This theory emphasizes consent, mutual obligation, and the creation of authority. It forms the philosophical foundation of modern democratic and legal systems. Example: the Indian Constitution reflects a social contract, where citizens agree to follow laws and the state ensures rights and justice. 7. Write a short note on Comte's contribution. Auguste Comte is known as the father of sociology for naming and systematizing the discipline. He proposed that society should be studied using scientific methods similar to natural sciences. Comte introduced positivism, emphasizing observation and factual data. He believed sociology would help improve society through social reforms. Example: modern empirical research in crime rates or domestic violence follows Comte's positivist approach. 8. Comte's law of 3 stages. Comte argued that society's progress through 3 intellectual stages: theological, metaphysical, and scientific, positive. In the theological stage, religion explains the world; in the metaphysical stage, abstract philosophy dominates. In the scientific stage, society relies on observation, experiment, and reason. He believed modern societies should reach the scientific stage for progress. Example: the shift from superstitious beliefs about diseases to medical science reflects this progression. 9. Functionalist perspective. The functionalist perspective views society as a system of interrelated parts working together for stability. Institutions like family, education, law, and religion perform essential functions to maintain social order. Change is seen as gradual and evolutionary rather than sudden. Social problems arise when institutions fail to perform their roles effectively. Example: courts perform the function of dispute resolution; when courts delay justice, it disrupts social stability. 10. Polarization, Marxian interpretation. Marx argued that capitalism causes polarization between the rich, bourgeoisie, and the poor, proletariat. The gap widens because capitalists accumulate wealth while workers receive minimal wages. This economic divide creates exploitation, class conflict, and social tensions. Polarization eventually leads to revolutionary change. Example, the disparity between corporate owners and factory workers in India reflects economic polarization. 11. Stratification and conflict theory. Conflict theory, especially by Karl Marx, sees society as divided into groups competing for resources, power, and status. Stratification is not natural, it is created by those in power to maintain dominance. Inequality leads to social conflict, which becomes the engine of social change. Law is sometimes used by powerful groups to protect their interests. Example, landlord-tenant disputes often show conflict between economic classes over resources and rights. 12. Role of social media and its influence, modern expansion. Social media has become a major platform shaping public opinion and social movements. It influences politics, law, culture, and collective behavior by enabling instant communication. It can empower marginalized groups but also spread misinformation. Social media activism often pressures governments and courts to respond. Example, the #MeToo movement began online and led to legal reforms and increased workplace reporting of harassment. 13. Ideal and practical norm. Ideal norms are the standards of behavior that society expects people to follow, representing perfection and moral ideals. Practical norms are the behaviors people actually follow in real-life situations, which may differ from ideals. This difference arises due to social pressures, personal limitations, or circumstances. Sociologists study these gaps to understand real social behavior versus expected behavior. Example, the ideal norm is everyone should obey traffic rules, but the practical norm is that many people still break signals when roads are empty. 14. Folkways and mores. Folkways are everyday customary behaviors that make social interactions smooth but carry mild consequences if violated. Mores are strong norms linked to morality and ethics, and violating them results in severe social disapproval. Folkways maintain routine behavior, while mores protect society's moral structure. Both guide acceptable conduct and preserve social order. Example, dressing casually at a wedding violates folkways, but committing adultery violates mores and can lead to legal consequences in divorce cases. 15. Social mores. Social mores are deeply held cultural norms that express a society's ideas of right and wrong. They are stricter than folkways and often form the foundation of laws and moral expectations. Mores ensure that individuals follow ethical and moral standards. They influence marriage, family life, gender roles, and religious practices. Example, society's strong moral rejection of theft reflects mores, and this moral norm is supported by legal punishment under the Indian Penal Code. 16. Mores and law. Mores often influence the creation of legal rules because laws reflect society's moral values. While mores are informal sanctions, laws are formal and enforceable through state machinery. Many acts that violate mores such as violence, exploitation, or dishonesty are later codified into law. The relationship between mores and law helps maintain social order and justice. Example, child marriage was once a tolerated practice, but changing mores led to the Child Marriage Prohibition Act, making it a punishable offense. 17. Social deviance. Social deviance refers to behavior that violates societal norms, values, or expectations. Deviance can be minor, informal violations, or serious, criminal acts. It helps sociologists understand changing attitudes and emerging social problems. Deviance is socially constructed. What is deviant in one culture may be normal in another. Example, live-in relationships were once considered deviant in India but are increasingly accepted and legally recognized by courts. 18. Causes of crime. Crime is caused by a combination of social, economic, psychological, and environmental factors. Poverty, unemployment, peer influence, and broken families increase the likelihood of criminal behavior. Urbanization and rapid social change can weaken social control mechanisms. Lack of education and addiction also contribute to criminal tendencies. Example, economic hardship often pushes individuals into theft or illegal activities, leading to cases frequently handled under the IPC. 19. Criminology and penology. Criminology is the scientific study of crime, criminal behavior, and the causes of crime. Penology focuses on punishment, correction, rehabilitation, and prison management. Together they help the legal system understand how to prevent crime and reform offenders. They guide lawmakers, judges, and police in developing effective criminal justice policies. Example, the shift from harsh punishments to rehabilitation-oriented prison reforms in India reflects modern penological approaches. 20 Causes of social disorganization. Social disorganization occurs when social institutions like family, law, and education fail to maintain social order. Rapid urbanization, migration, poverty, and breakdown of community ties are major causes. Loss of shared values and weakened social control create instability in society. It leads to increased deviance, crime, and social problems. Example, slum areas with inadequate schools, weak law enforcement, and unemployment often exhibit high crime due to social disorganization. 21 Two functions of group. Groups provide emotional support and a sense of belonging to their members, helping individuals feel valued. They also perform instrumental functions such as achieving common goals through cooperation and coordination. Groups help transmit culture, norms, and values, ensuring continuity of society. They also regulate behavior through informal control, maintaining social order. Example, a law college classroom group helps students share notes, instrumental function, and develop friendships, expressive function. 22 Voluntary and involuntary groups, with example. Voluntary groups are those individuals joined by their own choice based on interests or goals. Involuntary groups are those into which individuals are born and cannot choose to leave. Voluntary groups promote shared interests, while involuntary groups shape identity and social status. Both types influence socialization and behavioral expectations. Example, joining an NGO is voluntary, whereas belonging to a caste group at birth is involuntary. 23 Formal and informal group. Formal groups are structured with official rules, designated roles, and clear objectives, often created by organizations. Informal groups emerge naturally through personal interactions and shared interests without written rules. Formal groups focus on tasks and efficiency, while informal groups emphasize friendships and social support. Both groups coexist and influence each other within institutions. Example, a legislative committee is a formal group, while the group of colleagues chatting during breaks in a law firm is informal. 24 Cooperation. Cooperation is a social process where individuals or groups work together to achieve common goals. It promotes harmony, reduces conflict, and strengthens social bonds. Society cannot function without cooperation among institutions like family, law, and education. It may be direct, face-to-face, or indirect, working through institutions. Example, lawyers cooperating during mediation to reach a settlement for disputing parties. 25 Define community. A community is a group of people living in a specific geographical area who share common interests, values, and a sense of belonging. It is characterized by social relationships, mutual dependence, and cultural unity. Communities provide identity and support to members through shared norms. They are more emotionally connected compared to broader societies. Example, a village community coming together to resolve a water dispute through panchayat meetings. 26 Types of social interaction. Social interactions include cooperation, competition, conflict, accommodation, and assimilation. These interactions shape relationships between individuals and groups in society. They determine how people adjust, compete, or collaborate in different situations. Positive interactions strengthen society, while negative ones may cause tension. Example, in court, adversarial interaction occurs during cross-examination, conflict, while plea bargaining represents cooperation/accommodation. 27 Forms of competition. Competition may be economic, jobs, resources, social, status, prestige, or political, power, influence. It arises when individuals or groups strive to achieve goals that cannot be shared. Competition can motivate progress but may also create tension or inequality. It exists both at individual and group levels in society. Example, competing political parties during elections highlights political competition. 28 One Society, handwritten edition. The phrase one society implies the idea of a unified social structure where diverse groups coexist under common norms and institutions. It highlights social integration, shared values, and collective identity despite cultural differences. A society functions through interconnected institutions like law, economy, family, and government. Members of a society influence one another and follow common rules that maintain order. Example, India is one society legally unified under the constitution despite linguistic, cultural, and religious diversity. 29 Scheduled tribes. Scheduled tribes, STS, are indigenous communities recognized by the Constitution of India as socially and economically disadvantaged. They often live in remote areas and retain distinct languages, customs, and cultural practices. STS have historically faced social exclusion, limited access to education, and economic marginalization. Government policies aim to promote their welfare through reservation, development programs, and legal protection. Example, under the Forest Rights Act, 2006, tribal communities receive legal rights over forest land traditionally used by them. 32 Constitutional safeguards for SC/ST. The Constitution provides reservations in education, jobs, and legislatures to SC/ST communities to ensure representation and equality. It also prohibits untouchability under Article 17, making discrimination a punishable offense. Article 46 directs the state to promote educational and economic interests of SC/ST groups. These safeguards aim to reduce historical injustice and promote equal opportunities. Example, the Prevention of Atrocities Act, 1989 offers legal protection to SC/ST individuals against caste-based violence. 31 Inter- and intragenerational mobility. Intergenerational mobility refers to changes in social status between different generations of a family, showing long-term shifts. Intragenerational mobility occurs within a person's lifetime when they gain or lose status due to education, occupation, or income changes. Both types of mobility reflect the openness of a society and access to opportunities. High mobility indicates social equality, while low mobility suggests stratification and inherited disadvantage. Example, a farmer's child becoming a judge shows intergenerational mobility, while a lawyer becoming a senior advocate shows intragenerational mobility. 32 Stratification and conflict theory. Conflict theory argues that stratification is created and maintained by powerful groups to preserve their control over resources. Society is divided into classes whose interests conflict, leading to inequality and competition. Those in power manipulate institutions like law, education, and media to maintain dominance. Social change occurs when oppressed groups challenge existing inequalities. Example, labor unions protesting unfair wages reflect class conflict between workers and employers. 33 Class stratification, indirect question. Class stratification refers to the division of society into hierarchical layers based on wealth, occupation, and education. It creates unequal access to resources, opportunities, and privileges. Unlike caste, class is more flexible, allowing mobility based on achievement. However, structural barriers often prevent lower classes from advancing. Example, students from poor households often have limited access to quality coaching, affecting their chances in competitive law exams. 34 Two factors of change in family institution. Urbanization leads to smaller nuclear families due to migration for jobs and education. Education promotes gender equality, allowing women to pursue careers and delay marriage. These changes alter family roles, decision-making patterns, and parenting styles. Technology and communication also influence modern relationships and family bonds. Example, dual-income families are now common, influencing laws related to childcare and custody. 35 Social change. Social change refers to transformations in social structure, institutions, and cultural patterns over time. It occurs due to factors like technology, law, social movements, and economic development. Change may be slow and evolutionary or rapid and revolutionary. It affects people's lifestyles, roles, and interactions within society. Example, the introduction of digital courts and online filing systems changed India's legal system significantly. 36 Social conformity. Social conformity means adjusting one's behavior to align with group norms and expectations. It helps maintain uniformity and social order within groups. People conform to gain acceptance or avoid punishment. While conformity can promote harmony, excessive conformity suppresses individuality and critical thinking. Example, law students dressing formally in court premises reflects conformity to legal professional norms. 37 Problems faced by tribal communities. Tribal communities face problems such as displacement due to development projects, loss of land, and unemployment. They also experience poor access to healthcare, education, and basic infrastructure. Cultural erosion occurs due to forced assimilation and external influences. Legal exploitation and lack of awareness of rights make them vulnerable to injustice. Example, many tribes were displaced without proper rehabilitation during large dam projects, leading to legal interventions through pills. 38 Types of polygamy. Polygamy refers to a marital system where an individual has more than one spouse at the same time. It includes polygyny, one man with multiple wives, and polyandry, one woman with multiple husbands. Polygyny is more common historically in patriarchal societies, while polyandry is rare and found in communities with scarce resources. Polygamy is regulated or prohibited under modern legal systems for reasons of gender equality. Example, Indian law bans polygyny for Hindus under the Hindu Marriage Act, but Muslim personal law permits limited polygyny. 39. Types of marriage. Marriage types include monogamy, polygamy, endogamy, exogamy, hypergamy, and hypogamy. Monogamy involves one spouse at a time and is legally enforced in many societies. Endogamy requires marrying within one's caste or community, while exogamy demands marrying outside the group. Variations occur across cultures based on social norms and kinship structures. Example, Hindu Marriage Act legally enforces monogamy, but traditional caste groups still practice endogamy socially. 40. Polyandry. Polyandry is a form of marriage where one woman marries multiple men. It usually appears in regions with scarce land or harsh environmental conditions. Its purpose is to limit population growth and preserve family property. Polyandry challenges conventional gender norms and is socially rare today. Example, the Toda tribe in South India historically practiced polyandry, though modern law prohibits it. 41. Group marriage. Group marriage involves two or more men and women living together as marital partners. This type of marriage emphasizes collective responsibility rather than individual pairing. It is extremely rare and not legally recognized in most modern societies. Anthropologists study group marriage for understanding kinship patterns and communal living. Example, some ancient tribal communities practiced group marriage, but it is illegal under all Indian personal laws today. 42. Single-parent family. A single-parent family consists of one parent raising children due to divorce, death, separation, or choice. These families often face challenges like financial stress, social stigma, and increased responsibility. However, single parents may develop stronger emotional bonds with their children. Legal systems provide protections like custody laws, child support, and welfare provisions. Example, Indian courts often grant custody to single mothers under the Guardian and Wards Act when it serves the child's best interests. 43. Concept of marriage and changes. Marriage is a socially approved and legally recognized union between individuals, establishing rights and obligations. Modern changes include rising intercaste, interreligious, and love marriages due to education and mobility. The age of marriage has increased, and gender equality has reshaped marital roles. Technology and social media have influenced partner choice and relationship patterns. Example, the Special Marriage Act enables interfaith and intercaste marriages without religious conversion, reflecting changing social norms. 44. Cultural universal and specific, with family examples. Cultural universals are practices found in all societies, such as marriage, family, and socialization. Cultural specifics refer to how these practices vary across cultures based on beliefs and traditions. Though all societies have families, universal, family size, authority, and roles differ widely. Specific understanding both helps explain diversity within shared human experiences. Example, joint family is common in India, cultural specific, while nuclear families dominate Western countries, variation of universal family structure. 45. Two theories of religion. The functionalist theory states that religion promotes social cohesion and moral order. The conflict theory argues that religion can reinforce inequality by favoring dominant groups. Functionalists see religion as essential for social stability, while conflict theorists emphasize its role in power struggles. Both perspectives highlight how religion influences society differently. Example, religious festivals promote unity, functional, but caste-based temple entry restrictions reflect inequality, conflict. 46. Polytheism and monotheism. Polytheism is the belief in many gods, each with distinct roles. Monotheism is the belief in a single, supreme deity. These belief systems shape rituals, ethics, and social practices differently. Religious diversity influences law, culture, and interfaith relations in society. Example, Hinduism is polytheistic, whereas Islam and Christianity are monotheistic, influencing their marriage rituals, inheritance rules, and customs. 47. Sacred and profane. According to Émile Durkheim, the sacred refers to things regarded with reverence and awe, often linked to religion. The profane includes everyday, Ordinary activities without spiritual significance. Society separates sacred from profane through rituals, rules, and symbols. This division creates a moral community and collective identity. Example, temples and holy books are sacred, whereas office buildings and textbooks are profane. 48 Any two values of Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism. Max Weber identified values such as hard work, discipline, thrift, and rational organization. These values encouraged economic growth and helped develop modern capitalism. Work was seen as a religious duty, calling, promoting productivity. Weber argued that cultural values shape economic systems. Example, modern corporate work culture emphasizing efficiency and punctuality reflects Weber's Protestant ethic. 49 Four elements of the state. A state requires a population, defined territory, government, and sovereignty. These elements distinguish a state from other social organizations. Sovereignty gives the state authority to make and enforce laws. Without any one element, a state cannot function effectively. Example, India has clear borders, elected government, people, and sovereign power under the constitution. 50 Sociology of law. Sociology of law studies how law interacts with society and shapes social behavior. It examines how laws reflect social values, norms, and power structures. It also explores how individuals and institutions respond to legal rules. This field helps understand the gap between law in books and law in action. Example, domestic violence laws exist, but sociological research shows many women hesitate to report due to social stigma. 51 Power and authority. Power is the ability to influence others, while authority is legitimate power accepted by society. Max Weber identified three forms: traditional, charismatic, and legal rational authority. Authority maintains social order by ensuring obedience to legitimate rules. Legal rational authority is the foundation of modern governance. Example, judges use legal rational authority when delivering judgments backed by law. 52 Sociology of the legal profession. This area studies lawyers, judges, and legal institutions as social actors. It examines the ethical norms, professional roles, and hierarchy within the legal system. The legal profession influences justice delivery and public perceptions of law. It also highlights gender, class, and power dynamics within the profession. Example, increasing representation of women judges in India shows changing social patterns within the legal profession. 53 Problems faced by the tribal. Tribal communities face issues like land displacement, poverty, poor healthcare, and lack of education. They often experience cultural marginalization and loss of traditional livelihoods. Legal exploitation occurs due to limited awareness of rights. Development projects frequently displace tribes without proper rehabilitation. Example, displacement during dam construction led to Supreme Court interventions to protect scheduled tribes under the Forest Rights Act. 54 Differences between urban and tribal societies. Urban societies are technologically advanced, densely populated, and based on formal relationships. Tribal societies are smaller, community-based, and guided by tradition and kinship. Urban life encourages individualism, while tribal life promotes collectivism. Their economic, legal, and social structures differ greatly. Example, urban disputes are settled in courts, while many tribal disputes are resolved through traditional panchayats. 55 Assimilation and accommodation. Assimilation is a process where individuals or groups gradually adopt the culture, language, and values of another dominant group. It results in cultural blending and reduction of differences over time. Accommodation, on the other hand, allows groups to coexist peacefully without losing their distinct cultural identities. It involves compromise and adjustment to avoid conflict. Example, in India, tribal groups maintaining their festivals, accommodation, but adopting mainstream language for education, assimilation. 56 Accommodation and association. Accommodation refers to temporary adjustments between conflicting groups to maintain peace and order. It prevents open conflict by allowing parties to compromise. Association is a long-term cooperative relationship among groups for achieving common goals. While accommodation reduces conflict, association promotes unity. Example, political parties forming a coalition government is accommodation, lawyers forming a bar association is association. 57 Cultural diffusion, assimilation and acculturation. Cultural diffusion is the spread of cultural traits such as ideas, food, or technology from one society to another. Assimilation occurs when the receiving group adopts the incoming traits completely. Acculturation is a partial cultural exchange where groups adopt some traits but retain their identity. These processes create cultural diversity and interconnectedness in society. Example, wearing Western clothing, diffusion, adopting English as a primary language, assimilation, and celebrating both Diwali and Christmas, acculturation. 58 Cultural universal and specific. Cultural universals are practices found in all societies, such as family, language, religion, and social norms. Cultural specifics refer to how these universal practices vary between cultures. Universals show common human needs, while specifics reflect local traditions and values. Understanding both helps prevent stereotyping and promotes cultural sensitivity. Example, marriage is universal, but Hindu rituals, Christian weddings, and tribal marriage customs are cultural specifics. 59 Polarization, Marxian interpretation. Polarization refers to the increasing separation between social classes under capitalism. Marx argued that as the bourgeoisie accumulates wealth, the proletariat becomes poorer and more exploited. This deepens class divisions, leading to tension and potential revolution. Polarization highlights inequality created by economic systems. Example, the widening gap between corporate owners and contract workers in India reflects class polarization. 60 Role conflict and role strain. Role conflict occurs when an individual faces incompatible expectations from different social roles. Role strain arises when the demands of a single role become overwhelming. Both create stress and reduce efficiency in performing social duties. These issues are common in complex modern societies with many overlapping roles. Example, a lawyer who is also a parent may face role conflict between court duties and child care, while role strain occurs when handling too many cases at once. 61 Feud. A feud is a prolonged conflict between individuals or groups, often passed down across generations. It is usually rooted in issues like land disputes, honor, or resource control. Feuds damage social cohesion and may escalate into violence. Traditional societies experienced feuds due to lack of strong legal systems. Example, long-standing family land disputes in rural India often result in feuds until settled through court intervention. 62 Imitate. Imitate refers to imitation or copying behavior observed in others. It is a basic process of social learning through which individuals acquire skills, norms, and attitudes. Imitation helps in socialization, especially among children. It can be both positive, learning good manners, or negative, copying deviant behavior. Example, law students often imitate senior advocates' dressing style and courtroom manners. 63 Goal-oriented social action, with example. Goal-oriented social action, also known as instrumental rational action, involves deliberate actions taken to achieve a specific objective. The individual evaluates means logically and selects the most efficient one. Max Weber considered it the most rational type of social action. It reflects planning, calculation, and purpose in human behavior. Example, a law student preparing for judiciary exams by joining coaching classes and planning a study schedule demonstrates goal-oriented action. 64 Verbal and nonverbal communication. Verbal communication uses spoken or written words to convey information clearly and directly. Nonverbal communication includes gestures, facial expressions, posture, and tone of voice. Both forms complement each other and make interactions meaningful. Misinterpretation often occurs when verbal and nonverbal cues contradict each other. Example, in court, a judge's verbal instructions and the lawyer's confident body language together influence courtroom communication. 65 Social deviance. Social deviance refers to behaviors that violate accepted norms, values, or expectations of society. It may be minor, informal violations, or major, criminal acts. Deviance draws attention to social problems and may lead to legal reforms. Societal reactions shape whether a behavior becomes labeled as deviant. Example, ragging in colleges is considered deviant and is legally punishable under anti-ragging laws. 66 Two factors affecting voting behavior. Voting behavior is influenced by social factors like caste, religion, gender, and community identity. It is also shaped by political factors such as party ideology, leadership appeal, and campaign messages. Media exposure and political awareness play major roles in modern elections. Economic issues like unemployment or inflation further impact voter preferences. Example, many voters in India select candidates based on caste identity or welfare schemes promised by political parties. 67 Technonomy. Technonomy refers to the practice of addressing parents by the name of their child. This naming pattern emphasizes family roles over individual identity. It reflects cultural values that prioritize relationships and kinship. Technonymy is common in traditional and rural societies. Example, a woman being called Rahul's mother instead of her own name is an example of technonymy. 68. Division of labor. Division of labor refers to breaking down work into specialized tasks performed by different individuals. It increases efficiency, productivity, and expertise in specific jobs. According to Durkheim, it creates organic solidarity in modern societies. Specialization leads to interdependence between workers. Example, in a law firm, partners handle complex cases while junior associates conduct research and drafting. 69. Any two social dimensions of division of labor. First, division of labor creates social differentiation, as people develop unique roles and skills. Second, it establishes social interdependence, where individuals rely on each other's work to function smoothly. These dimensions strengthen cooperation and social order. They also influence status, occupation, and income levels. Example, a court depends on judges, clerks, advocates, police, and typists, each with a specialized role. 70. Jajmani system. The Jajmani system is a traditional Indian rural economic arrangement where castes exchange services based on hereditary roles. It ensured stability and interdependence, with each caste performing specific duties, example priests, barbers, potters. Payment was often in kind rather than money. The system also reinforced caste hierarchy and inequality. Example, in villages, barbers cutting hair for landowner families in exchange for grain historically reflected the Jajmani system. 71. Culture. Culture includes the beliefs, values, norms, customs, language, and traditions shared by a society. It shapes human behavior and gives meaning to social life. Culture is learned through socialization, not inherited biologically. It evolves over time as societies change. Example, respecting elders, celebrating festivals, and speaking regional languages are part of Indian culture. 72. Cultural universal and specific. Cultural universals are practices common across all human societies, such as family, marriage, language, and rituals. Cultural specifics refer to the unique ways these universals are expressed in different cultures. Universals show human similarity, while specifics show cultural diversity. This helps avoid ethnocentrism and promotes cultural sensitivity. Example, marriage is universal, but Hindu weddings with Satvara and Christian weddings in a church are specifics. 73. Ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is the tendency to judge other cultures based on one's own cultural standards. It creates prejudice, stereotypes, and misunderstanding between communities. Ethnocentrism prevents appreciation of cultural diversity. It can lead to discrimination and social conflict. Example, believing that Western clothing is superior to traditional tribal attire reflects ethnocentric judgment. 74. Define community. A community is a group of people living in a specific geographical area who share common values, culture, and relationships. Communities develop a sense of belonging and mutual support. They maintain social order through shared norms and traditions. Community life shapes identity and social behavior. Example, a residential housing society where members collectively decide security rules and festivals. 75. Social interaction. Social interaction is the process through which individuals act and react in the presence of others. It includes cooperation, competition, conflict, accommodation, and assimilation. Interaction forms the basis of social relationships and institutions. It helps in the transmission of culture and norms. Example, a lawyer interacting with clients, judges, and colleagues daily is engaging in social interaction. 76. Forms of competition. Competition may be economic, jobs, wealth, social, status, recognition, or political, power, influence. It emerges when individuals or groups strive for goals that cannot be shared. Competition can motivate progress but also create tension. It is a natural part of modern societies with limited resources. Example, students competing for top ranks in CLAT or judiciary exams. 77. Two differences between private and public property. Private property is owned by individuals or private organizations, whereas public property is owned and managed by the government. Private property is used for personal benefit, while public property serves community and national interests. The state protects private property rights but regulates their use through laws like taxation and land acquisition. Public property requires public responsibility and cannot be used exclusively by one person. Example, a privately owned house is private property, a public park maintained by a municipal corporation is public property. 78 Constitutional provisions for SC and ST. The Constitution provides reservations in education, employment, and legislatures for SC/ST communities, Articles 330, 332, 335. It prohibits untouchability under Article 17, making discrimination a punishable offense. Article 46 directs the state to promote educational and economic interests of SC/ST communities. Special laws like the SC/ST, Prevention of Atrocities, Act, 1989 protect them from hate crimes and social injustice. Example, reserved seats in parliament and state assemblies ensure political representation of SC/ST communities. 79 Discuss relationship between politics and society. Politics and society are deeply interconnected because political decisions shape social life, and social structures influence political behavior. Social factors like caste, religion, class, and gender significantly affect voting patterns and political participation. Political institutions create laws, policies, and reforms that regulate society and promote social order. Society, through public opinion and social movements, can pressure political systems to change. Example, the women's rights movement influenced political decisions leading to laws like the Domestic Violence Act, 2005. Short notes. 1. Power and authority. Definition. Power refers to the ability of an individual or group to influence or control the actions and decisions of others, even in the presence of resistance. Authority is a legitimate form of power that is socially approved and accepted by people as rightful and binding. Key features/importance. Authority provides stability in social and political systems because it encourages people to comply voluntarily rather than through force. It comes in three major forms identified by Max Weber: traditional authority, charismatic authority, and legal rational authority. Power, by contrast, may arise from coercion, economic control, knowledge, or personal influence and does not always require public consent. Understanding the relationship between power and authority is essential for explaining how governments, institutions, and leaders maintain order, enforce laws, and resolve conflicts within society. Example: a government official exercising legal rational authority can enforce traffic rules because the law grants them legitimate power. In contrast, a criminal gang leader may also wield power over people, but their influence lacks legitimate authority. 2. Political party and its types. Definition. A political party is an organized group of individuals who share common political beliefs and seek to attain and maintain governmental power through elections. Parties act as channels connecting citizens with the political system and influencing policies. Key features/importance. Political parties help structure political participation by providing platforms, leadership, and organized campaigning. They simplify complex political issues for citizens, enabling informed choices in elections. Parties also play a crucial role in forming governments, acting as opposition, and maintaining accountability through debates and policy checks. Different types of political parties exist, including cadre parties, mass-based parties, ideological parties, and catch-all parties, each representing unique organizational styles and goals. Example: in India, the BJP and Congress are mass political parties that mobilize large sections of people and contest elections at every level. Smaller ideological parties like CPI-M emphasize specific doctrines such as Marxism. 3. Political institution. Definition. A political institution refers to the structured arrangements and systems through which power is organized, exercised, and regulated in society. These institutions include government bodies, legal frameworks, and decision-making processes that guide political activity. Key features/importance. Political institutions ensure order and stability by establishing rules for governance, conflict resolution, and distribution of authority. They regulate how leaders are selected, how policies are formulated, and how laws are enforced. Institutions like the legislature, executive, and judiciary create checks and balances essential for democratic functioning. Strong political institutions promote public trust, transparency, and accountability, while weak institutions lead to corruption and instability. Example: the Indian Parliament serves as a key political institution by making laws, debating national issues, and supervising the executive through questions and committees. 4. Problems of urban community. Definition. Urban problems refer to the social, economic, and environmental challenges that arise due to rapid urbanization and population concentration in cities. These issues affect the quality of life and functioning of urban society. Key features/importance. Common problems include overcrowding, shortage of housing, traffic congestion, and rising pollution levels. Urban areas also face unemployment, crime, and inadequate sanitation due to unequal distribution of resources. These issues strain urban infrastructure and create inequalities in access to basic services like education, healthcare, and transportation. Recognizing urban problems is essential for designing sustainable city planning, inclusive policies, and efficient public services. Example: metro cities like Mumbai experience chronic overcrowding and housing shortages, leading to slum formation in areas such as Dharavi. 5. Social conformity. Definition. Social conformity is the act of adjusting one's behavior, beliefs, or attitudes to match the norms and expectations of a group or society. It arises from the need for acceptance, approval, and social belonging. Key features/importance. Conformity helps maintain social order by ensuring predictable and cooperative behavior among individuals. It occurs through mechanisms like peer pressure, socialization, and cultural norms. Conformity can be positive when it promotes harmony and shared values, but excessive conformity can suppress individuality and discourage innovation. Sociologists distinguish between normative conformity, seeking acceptance, and informational conformity, relying on others for guidance. Example: students wearing uniforms or employees following workplace dress codes illustrate normative conformity to institutional expectations. 6. Social process. Definition. A social process refers to the repetitive patterns of interaction through which individuals and groups relate to one another in society. It is the dynamic mechanism through which social relationships are built, maintained, and transformed. Key features/importance. Major social processes include cooperation, competition, conflict, accommodation, and assimilation. These processes shape social behavior and influence how societies evolve over time. They determine whether interactions are harmonious or tense, productive or disruptive. Studying social processes helps understand how social change occurs, how group dynamics form, and how societies maintain balance despite diverse interests. Example: cooperation among workers in a factory to meet production goals is a positive social process, while conflict between management and labor unions during wage disputes reflects a negative process. 7. Theories of religion. Definition. Theories of religion attempt to explain the origin, purpose, and functions of religious beliefs and practices in human societies. They seek to understand why religion persists across cultures and how it shapes social behavior and collective life. Key features/importance. Classical theorists provided foundational explanations. Durkheim viewed religion as a source of social cohesion, arguing that religious rituals strengthen collective conscience and maintain social solidarity. Marx considered religion a reflection of economic inequalities, claiming it provides emotional comfort while sustaining class domination. Weber focused on the meaning individuals attach to religious actions, showing how beliefs like the Protestant ethic influenced economic behavior and modern capitalism. Contemporary theories emphasize psychological, anthropological, and symbolic dimensions, explaining religion as a system of meanings that guides moral conduct, provides identity, and offers answers to existential questions. These theories help in evaluating how religion influences law, politics, social norms, and social change. Example: Weber's analysis of Protestantism shows how religious ideas encouraged hard work and disciplined living, contributing to the rise of capitalist economies. Durkheim's study of Australian totemism demonstrates how religious symbols actually represent society itself. 8. Religion is the opium of the masses. Definition. The phrase "religion is the opium of the masses," coined by Karl Marx, argues that religion functions as a comforting illusion that helps people cope with suffering and inequality. It suggests that religion soothes the oppressed, similar to how opium dulls physical pain. Key features/importance. Marx believed religion arises from conditions of exploitation in capitalist societies, offering hope of a better afterlife while diverting attention from real social and economic injustices. By promoting acceptance, obedience, and moral submission, religion becomes a tool used by ruling classes to maintain power and suppress revolutionary consciousness. It legitimizes existing hierarchies by portraying them as divinely sanctioned, thereby preventing the poor from challenging unequal structures. While criticized as reductionist, Marx's view remains important for understanding how religious institutions can influence political power, support authority, and shape ideology. Example: in feudal societies, kings claimed divine right to rule, encouraging subjects to accept oppression as God's will. Even today, some groups use religious rhetoric to justify social inequality or discourage resistance to injustice. 9 types of groups. Definition: types of groups refer to the various classifications of human associations based on size, purpose, intimacy, and duration of interaction. Sociologists categorize groups to understand patterns of behavior and social influence. Key features/importance. Primary groups, such as family and close friends, are characterized by emotional intimacy, face-to-face interaction, and long-lasting relationships. Secondary groups, like workplaces or political parties, are formal, goal-oriented, and impersonal. In-groups create a sense of belonging, while out-groups represent those perceived as different or competitive. Reference groups provide standards for self-evaluation, influencing aspirations and lifestyle choices. Understanding types of groups helps clarify how individuals develop identity, adopt norms, and engage in cooperative or competitive behavior in society. Example: a classroom functions as a secondary group organized for learning, while a student's family remains their primary group offering emotional support and lifelong bonding. 10 social groups and types. Definition: social groups are collections of individuals who interact with one another, share common interests, and consider themselves members of the same unit. They form the basic building blocks of social structure. Key features/importance. Groups provide shared norms and values that guide behavior and create a sense of identity. They may be formal or informal, voluntary or involuntary, small or large. Different types include primary, secondary, in-groups, out-groups, peer groups, and reference groups, each influencing behavior in unique ways. Groups shape socialization, communication, and decision-making processes, fostering cooperation but also sometimes generating competition and conflict. They are essential for understanding collective behavior, leadership patterns, and social integration. Example: a sports team is an example of an organized social group where members work toward shared goals and follow common rules, while friend circles represent informal peer groups that influence attitudes and lifestyle. 11 Socialization/socialization. Definition: socialization is the lifelong process through which individuals learn the norms, values, behaviors, and cultural practices of their society. It shapes personality development and prepares individuals for social participation. Key features/importance. Primary socialization occurs within the family, where children learn language, basic behavior, and emotional bonds. Secondary socialization happens in schools, peer groups, religious institutions, and workplaces, introducing individuals to broader societal expectations. Agents of socialization: family, school, media, and community transmit cultural knowledge and reinforce social roles. Socialization maintains social order by producing well-adjusted individuals who conform to shared norms and contribute to societal continuity. It also helps in adapting to new situations throughout life, such as employment or marriage. Example: a child learns manners, cultural traditions, and gender roles from their family, while school socializes them into discipline, teamwork, and civic responsibility. 12 Division of labor. Definition: division of labor refers to the distribution of work into specialized tasks performed by different individuals or groups. It increases efficiency by allowing people to focus on specific skills. Key features/importance. Émile Durkheim explained that division of labor leads to social solidarity, mechanical solidarity in simple societies based on similarity, and organic solidarity in complex societies based on interdependence. Specialization improves productivity, innovation, and economic development. However, excessive specialization can create alienation, monotony, and weaken social bonds. Division of labor is central to understanding modern industrial life, work relationships, and occupational diversity. Example: in a factory, one worker assembles parts while another packages the product, demonstrating specialization that increases total production. 13 Social deviance. Definition: social deviance refers to behaviors, attitudes, or conditions that violate social norms or expectations. It includes actions seen as unacceptable, unusual, or morally questionable by a community. Key features/importance. Deviance is socially constructed. What one society condemns may be accepted in another. Functionalist theory suggests deviance clarifies moral boundaries and promotes social change. Interactionist theories emphasize labeling, arguing that deviance results from societal reactions rather than the act alone. Deviance highlights inequalities, as marginalized groups are often more harshly labeled and punished. Studying deviance helps understand crime, stigma, social control, and the effectiveness of law and punishment. Example: graffiti may be considered artistic expression by some but vandalism by others, showing how deviance depends on cultural interpretation. 14. Status and role. Definition. Status refers to the position a person occupies in society, while role refers to the behavioral expectations associated with that status. Together they shape social identity and guide interactions. Key features/importance. Statuses can be ascribed, like age or caste, or achieved through education and occupation. Roles define responsibilities, duties, and rights linked to each status, enabling predictable social behavior. This structure maintains order by ensuring individuals know how to act in various settings. Role performance may vary depending on personal ability, cultural expectations, and situational demands. Understanding status and role is crucial for analyzing institutions, hierarchy, and social mobility. Example: a teacher's status requires them to perform roles such as educating students, maintaining discipline, and evaluating performance. 15. Role and role conflict. Definition. Role conflict occurs when the expectations of two or more roles held by an individual clash, making it difficult to perform them effectively. It reflects the tension created by competing demands. Key features/importance. Conflict may arise between work and family roles, between personal values and institutional duties, or between multiple professional responsibilities. Such conflicts cause stress, reduced performance, and emotional strain. Societies develop coping mechanisms such as role negotiation, prioritization, and delegation to manage these tensions. Studying role conflict helps understand workplace behavior, family dynamics, and challenges faced in modern life where individuals occupy multiple roles simultaneously. Example: a working parent may struggle to attend office meetings while also needing to care for an unwell child, creating conflict between employee and parent roles. 16. Kinship, marriage and family. 1. Kinship types and usages. Definition. Kinship refers to the network of social relationships formed through blood ties, marriage, or adoption. It defines how people relate to one another within families and establishes rules of descent, inheritance, and social identity. Key features/importance. Kinship systems vary across cultures but generally include two main types: consanguineal kinship, blood relations, and affinal kinship, relations by marriage. Descent may be traced through the father, patrilineal, mother, matrilineal, or both, bilateral, influencing property rights, residence patterns, and lineage authority. Kinship determines social obligations such as caregiving, marriage choices, support systems, and ritual duties. It also plays a crucial role in maintaining social order by regulating alliances between families and distributing roles and responsibilities. Understanding kinship is essential in legal contexts such as succession, custody, and marital laws, where the definition of family relationships carries practical consequences. Example: in many Indian communities, property traditionally passes through the patrilineal line, reinforcing the authority of male kin. In contrast, the Kasai tribe of Meghalaya follows matrilineal descent, where inheritance goes to the youngest daughter. 17. Marriage. Definition. Marriage is a socially recognized and legally sanctioned union between two individuals that establishes rights and obligations related to family life, sexual relations, and economic cooperation. It is both a cultural institution and a legal contract. Key features/importance. Different societies recognize diverse forms of marriage, including monogamy, polygamy, polyandry, and arranged unions, each shaped by cultural values and economic factors. Marriage serves important social functions. It legitimizes offspring, organizes reproduction, and structures family relationships. It also provides emotional companionship, economic partnership, and social stability. Laws governing marriage outline age, consent, inheritance, and domestic responsibilities, ensuring protection and regulating family conduct. In modern societies, marriage has evolved to include concepts of equality, personal choice, and mutual support, reflecting wider social changes. Example: the Hindu Marriage Act in India recognizes monogamous marriage and sets legal conditions such as age and consent, while tribal groups like the Todas historically practiced polyandry, showing cultural variation in marital norms. 18. Contribution of Herbert Spencer. Definition. Herbert Spencer was a pioneering sociologist who applied evolutionary principles to the study of society, viewing social development as a gradual progression from simple to complex forms. His work contributed significantly to early sociological theory. Key features/importance. Spencer compared society to a living organism, where different parts such as family, economy, and government function together to maintain stability. He proposed the concept of survival of the fittest, suggesting that social institutions evolve through competition and adaptation. Although criticized for supporting social inequality, his ideas influenced functionalist thinking and the study of social structures. Spencer also emphasized individual freedom and limited government intervention, shaping debates on social policy and welfare. His comparative method encouraged examining societies at various stages of development to understand social progress. Example. Spencer's analogy of society as an organism can be seen when analyzing how law, education, and economy work interdependently, much like organs in a body, to sustain social order. 19. Is sociology a science? Debate. Definition. The debate on whether sociology is a science concerns whether the study of society can follow systematic, objective, and verifiable methods similar to natural sciences. It raises questions about scientific rigor, neutrality, and empirical validity in social research. Key features/importance. Supporters argue sociology uses scientific methods such as observation, hypothesis testing, surveys, and statistical analysis. They highlight the work of Durkheim, who insisted social facts must be studied objectively. Critics argue human behavior is subjective, value-laden, and cannot be measured with the precision of natural sciences. Interpretive sociologists like Weber emphasize understanding meanings rather than predicting behavior. The debate shapes methodologies quantitative versus qualitative and influences how sociological knowledge is applied in law, policy, and social reform. Example. Durkheim's study of suicide used statistical methods to establish social patterns, demonstrating scientific inquiry, while Weber's analysis of religious ethics shows the interpretive approach focusing on meanings. 20. Sociology of the legal profession. Definition. Sociology of the legal profession examines the social organization, roles, and behavior of legal actors such as lawyers, judges, clerks, and paralegals. It studies how legal work reflects broader social structures, power relations, and professional norms. Key features/importance. The field explores issues such as professional ethics, specialization, legal education, and access to justice. It highlights how the legal profession maintains authority through licensing, training, and codes of conduct. Sociologists analyze disparities within the profession, including gender, class, and caste inequalities. The profession plays a crucial role in shaping public trust, interpreting law, and balancing state power with citizens' rights. Understanding this field helps explain how legal institutions adapt to social change and how professional behavior influences justice delivery. Example. Public interest lawyers who represent marginalized groups demonstrate how the profession can promote social justice, while corporate law firms reflect specialization shaped by economic forces. 21. Any 5 methods used in sociology. Definition. Sociological methods are systematic techniques used to study social behavior, collect data, and analyze patterns within society. They help ensure accuracy, reliability, and scientific rigor in sociological research. Key features/importance. Common methods include surveys, which gather information from large populations through questionnaires, interviews, which provide deeper insights into personal experiences, observation, where researchers study behavior in natural settings, case studies, which examine a single unit in depth, and experiments, which test hypotheses under controlled conditions. These methods allow sociologists to understand both quantitative trends and qualitative meanings. Proper selection of methods enhances the validity of research and helps address complex social problems such as crime, inequality, and cultural change. Example. A sociologist studying urban poverty may use surveys to measure income patterns, interviews to understand lived experiences, and observation to examine conditions within slum areas. 22. Theories of social change. Definition. Theories of social change explain the processes through which societies transform over time in terms of culture, structure, institutions, and collective behavior. These theories identify patterns, causes, and directions of change across historical and contemporary contexts. Key features/importance. Classical evolutionary theories assume that societies progress from simple to complex forms, emphasizing gradual, linear development. Conflict theories, inspired by Marx, argue that social change results from tensions between competing classes and the struggle for power and resources. Functionalist theories explain change as a response to imbalance within the social system, where institutions adapt to restore stability. Cyclical theories suggest that civilizations rise, decline, and renew in recurring patterns. Modern perspectives highlight globalization, technological innovation, demographic shifts, and cultural interactions as major drivers of change. These theories help understand revolutions, modernization, urbanization, and legal reforms within societies. Example: the Industrial Revolution demonstrates conflict and evolutionary theories, as technological advances disrupted old structures and generated class tensions that reshaped economic and political life. 23. Kohnt's Law of Three Stages. Definition: Kohnt's Law of Three Stages proposes that human thought and societies evolve through three intellectual stages: the theological, metaphysical, and positive stages. It represents one of the earliest systematic theories of social change. Key features/importance. In the theological stage, people explain phenomena through supernatural forces, with social order dominated by priests, warriors, and religious authority. The metaphysical stage replaces supernatural explanations with abstract reasoning and philosophical speculation, marking a transitional period. In the positive stage, scientific observation and empirical methods guide understanding, and society becomes organized around rational laws and expert knowledge. Kohnt's theory emphasizes the role of knowledge in shaping institutions, governance, and progress. It forms the foundation of positivism, influencing scientific methodology in sociology and promoting the idea that societies advance through intellectual development. Example: modern legal systems reflect the positive stage because laws are based on evidence, rational principles, and procedural rules rather than divine authority or metaphysical doctrines. 24. Cultural diffusion, assimilation and acculturation. Definition: cultural diffusion, assimilation, and acculturation describe processes through which cultures interact and change due to contact between societies. They involve the spread, blending, or transformation of cultural practices, beliefs, and values. Key features/importance. Cultural diffusion occurs when elements of one culture spread to another, such as language, food, or technology. Assimilation refers to the process by which minority groups gradually adopt the dominant culture's traits, eventually losing aspects of their original identity. Acculturation involves cultural exchange where groups adopt certain traits from each other while retaining core elements of their own culture. These processes result from trade, migration, colonization, globalization, and technological communication. They shape multicultural societies, promote innovation, and sometimes create conflicts over identity, integration, or cultural preservation. Example: the adoption of Western clothing and fast food culture in India reflects cultural diffusion, while immigrant communities adopting local language and customs illustrate assimilation. Acculturation can be seen when Indo-Western fashion blends Indian fabrics with Western designs. 25. Functions of culture. Definition: culture refers to the shared beliefs, values, norms, customs, and material objects that shape the way individuals live within a society. It provides a framework through which people interpret their world and interact with others. Key features/importance. Culture performs essential functions such as shaping identity, guiding behavior, and creating social cohesion through shared meanings. It provides norms and values that regulate conduct and maintain order. Culture ensures continuity by transmitting knowledge, traditions, and skills from one generation to the next. It also promotes adaptation by offering solutions to social, economic, and environmental challenges. Through symbols, rituals, and language, culture fosters communication and collective belonging, strengthening community life. As societies change, culture evolves, integrating new ideas while preserving heritage. Example: the celebration of Diwali reinforces cultural identity, teaches shared values about family and community, and passes traditions to younger generations. 26. Indian ethos and pluralism. Definition: Indian ethos refers to the cultural values, philosophical traditions, and ethical principles deeply rooted in Indian civilization. Pluralism is the coexistence of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and lifestyles within a single society. Key features/importance. India's ethos emphasizes tolerance, harmony, nonviolence, respect for diversity, and spiritual inclusiveness shaped by traditions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, and Sufi Islam. Pluralism is expressed through India's linguistic variety, religious coexistence, caste groups, and regional identities, functioning within a democratic framework. This diversity enriches social life, promotes coexistence, and strengthens national unity by acknowledging differences rather than suppressing them. Indian ethos encourages dialogue over conflict, collective duty over individualism, and moral conduct in personal and public life. Pluralism also influences law, politics, education, and cultural policies that protect minority rights. Example: the practice of observing multiple religious festivals Diwali, Eid, Christmas, and Gurpurab within the same national space demonstrates India's pluralistic ethos. 27. Pluralism. Definition. Pluralism refers to a social condition in which multiple cultural, religious, linguistic, or social groups coexist while maintaining their distinct identities. It emphasizes mutual respect, cooperation, and shared participation in public life. Key features/importance. Pluralism stands apart from assimilation, allowing groups to retain their traditions without being absorbed into a dominant culture. It helps prevent social conflict by promoting tolerance and institutional protections for diversity. Democratic societies rely on pluralism to accommodate differing beliefs, lifestyles, and political opinions. It enhances social creativity by enabling cultural exchange, innovation, and multiple worldviews. Pluralism also strengthens national integration by balancing unity with diversity, ensuring that no group feels marginalized or excluded from social participation. Example: countries like India and Canada practice cultural pluralism where minority groups maintain their languages, customs, and religious institutions while participating fully in national life. 28. Economic institution. Definition. An economic institution refers to the organized systems, norms, and mechanisms through which societies produce, distribute, and consume goods and services. It includes formal arrangements like markets, businesses, and financial systems, as well as informal economic practices. Key features/importance. Economic institutions allocate resources efficiently by determining who produces what, how production occurs, and how goods are exchanged. They establish rules for property rights, taxation, trade, wages, and labor relations, shaping individuals' access to livelihood and opportunities. These institutions influence social behavior by structuring economic roles such as employer, employee, consumer, and investor. They also contribute to social stability by reducing uncertainty and building trust in economic exchanges. Strong and fair economic institutions promote development, reduce poverty, and support social welfare, whereas weak institutions lead to corruption, inequality, and economic instability. Example: banks as economic institutions provide credit and savings services, enabling businesses to expand and individuals to invest in education, housing, and entrepreneurship. 29. Capitalism. Definition. Capitalism is an economic system in which the means of production such as land, factories, and technology are privately owned and operated for profit. It functions through market competition, voluntary exchange, and the pursuit of individual economic interests. Key features/importance. Capitalism is driven by free markets, supply and demand, and minimal state intervention, allowing individuals and businesses to compete and innovate. It promotes economic growth by encouraging investment, specialization, and technological advancement. Critics argue that capitalism generates class inequality, exploitation, and concentration of wealth, as noted by Marx. Supporters highlight efficiency, consumer choice, and entrepreneurial freedom. Capitalism shapes social institutions by influencing work culture, education, law, and political structures. Its global expansion has connected economies, transforming social life through trade and industrialization. Example: the United States operates primarily under a capitalist model, where private companies compete in markets ranging from technology to healthcare, shaping employment patterns and consumer lifestyles. 30. Jajmani system. Definition. The Jajmani system is a traditional Indian economic and social arrangement in which service-providing castes perform hereditary occupations for landowning families in exchange for food, goods, or protection. It is a caste-based interdependent structure rooted in rural society. Key features/importance. In this system, the Jajman, patron, receives services such as pottery, barbering, or laundering from the Kamins, client castes. The relationship is hereditary, stable, and governed by ritual obligations rather than contractual agreements. It ensures economic security for service castes but restricts occupational mobility. While the system promotes interdependence and social order, it reinforces caste hierarchy and inequality. Modernization, urbanization, and legal reforms have weakened the Jajmani system, but traces remain in some rural areas. Example: a traditional village barber serving the same landowning family for generations in exchange for grain is a classic illustration of the Jajmani arrangement. 31. Society and its forms. Highlight any three differences. Definition: society is a network of social relationships in which individuals live together, share culture, and interact according to established norms. It is a structured system that organizes human life into stable patterns. Key features/importance. Sociologists classify societies into forms such as tribal, agrarian, and industrial, each with distinct economic activities, social structures, and cultural practices. Tribal societies are small, kin-based, and dependent on hunting or simple agriculture. Agrarian societies rely on farming, have more complex social hierarchies, and support institutions like religion and monarchy. Industrial societies are characterized by factories, urbanization, technological advancement, and occupational specialization. These differences reflect how societies evolve, adapt, and develop institutions to meet human needs. Studying forms of society reveals how education, law, economy, and family change across historical stages. Example: a tribal community in the Andaman Islands depends on kinship and simple tools, whereas an agrarian village in Punjab relies on farming, and an industrial city like Mumbai depends on technology and specialized labor. 32. Social stratification. Definition: social stratification refers to the hierarchical arrangement of individuals and groups in society based on factors such as class, caste, race, gender, and wealth. It determines people's access to resources, opportunities, and privileges. Key features/importance. Stratification systems can be closed, like the caste system where mobility is restricted, or open, like class systems that allow movement through education and income. It influences life chances, lifestyle, political power, and social interactions. Stratification creates inequality but also serves organizational functions by assigning roles and motivating achievement. Sociologists analyze stratification to understand poverty, discrimination, mobility, and social justice. It shapes institutional behavior, affecting law enforcement, education, healthcare, and employment. Example: in India, caste historically determined occupation and social status, while in modern capitalist societies, wealth and education influence class positions and mobility. Long answers. 1. Caste system is a more rigid form of social class. Discuss any two theories of social stratification. Introduction. Social stratification refers to the hierarchical arrangement of individuals in society based on factors such as wealth, power, prestige, and status. While social class is comparatively flexible and allows vertical mobility, the caste system is rigid, hereditary, and largely closed to mobility. In the Indian context, caste determined occupation, social interaction, and life chances. Sociologists have explained stratification through several theories. Among them, the functionalist and conflict theories provide contrasting yet insightful explanations. 1. Functionalist theory of stratification, Kingsley Davis and Wilbert Moore. The functionalist perspective argues that stratification is necessary for the smooth functioning of society. According to Davis and Moore, different positions in society require varied levels of skills and responsibility. To motivate individuals to occupy these positions, society attaches unequal rewards such as higher income, prestige, and social status. Hence, inequality is viewed as both inevitable and functional. In relation to caste, this theory suggests that historically, caste-based occupational roles created a fixed division of labor. Priests, warriors, traders, and laborers performed roles that maintained social order. However, the caste system became excessively rigid, preventing mobility and denying individuals the opportunity to develop or choose their skills. While functionalism justifies some inequality as necessary, it fails to justify hereditary and discriminatory practices such as untouchability, exclusion, and occupational immobility. 2. Marxian conflict theory of stratification. Marx viewed stratification as a result of economic inequalities rooted in the ownership of the means of production. Society is divided into two main classes. Bourgeoisie, owners. Proletariat, workers. This inequality produces conflict because the powerful classes exploit the weaker ones. For Marx, stratification is neither functional nor natural, it is a tool for domination and control. Applied to caste, conflict theory explains how dominant castes historically controlled land, resources, and political power, while lower castes performed labor-intensive and less rewarded occupations. This domination was justified through religious and social norms rather than economic ability alone. Laws such as Article 17, abolition of untouchability, reservations, and welfare measures aim to address these structural inequalities and reduce caste-based exploitation. The theory highlights that caste hierarchy persists because it benefits the dominant groups economically, socially, and politically. Conclusion. Both theories offer useful insights but from different lenses. The functionalist theory views inequality as necessary for societal stability, while the Marxian theory views it as a result of exploitation. The caste system, being hereditary and rigid, aligns more closely with conflict theory since it restricts mobility and reinforces dominance. In modern India, constitutional law plays a crucial role in reducing caste-based inequality and promoting a more egalitarian social order. 2. I like a society that teaches liberty, equality, and fraternity. Explain social stratification with special reference to the caste system. Introduction. Social stratification refers to the hierarchical arrangement of individuals and groups in society based on unequal access to resources, status, and power. It produces structured inequalities that affect one's life chances and opportunities. While modern democracies aspire to the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity as emphasized in the preamble of the Indian Constitution, social stratification often creates barriers to achieving these values. In India, the caste system represents one of the most rigid and historically entrenched forms of stratification. Meaning and features of social stratification. Social stratification is universal, hierarchical, and culturally patterned. It categorizes people into layers based on criteria such as class, caste, gender, and occupation. These layers determine access to rights, privileges, and social mobility. Stratification also tends to perpetuate itself through social institutions such as family, religion, and education. While class systems allow some degree of mobility, closed systems like caste restrict upward movement and reinforce traditional hierarchies. Caste as a form of social stratification in India. The Indian caste system is a classical example of rigid and hereditary stratification. Traditionally divided into 4 varnas: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras along with numerous jatis, it determines occupation, marriage, social interaction, and access to resources. Unlike class, caste status is assigned at birth and cannot be changed. Practices such as endogamy, purity pollution norms, and untouchability further deepen social divisions. From a legal perspective, the caste system contradicts constitutional principles of equality and dignity. Articles 14, 15, 17, and 21 guarantee equality before law, prohibit discrimination, abolish untouchability, and protect personal liberty. Despite this framework, caste-based inequalities still persist in education, employment, property ownership, and political representation. Contradiction between caste and the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity. The ideal of liberty is challenged when caste restricts occupational choice, freedom of movement, or the right to marry. Instances of honor killings, threats against intercaste couples, and social boycotts illustrate how caste continues to limit personal freedom. The ideal of equality is violated when certain castes historically enjoy privileges while others face social exclusion. Issues such as manual scavenging, landlessness among Dalits, and discrimination in public institutions show that structural inequalities remain deeply rooted. The value of fraternity: the spirit of brotherhood weakens when caste produces social distance and discrimination. Practices like separate cremation grounds, denial of temple entry, or housing segregation demonstrate how caste hierarchy obstructs social harmony. Conclusion. Social stratification is a universal phenomenon, but the caste system represents a uniquely rigid and hereditary form of inequality. It directly undermines the constitutional ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity. While significant legal and social reforms have been introduced to reduce caste-based discrimination, true freedom and equality require both structural changes and a shift in social attitudes. A society committed to these ideals must ensure dignity and equal opportunity for all its members. 3. Universality of social stratification and Marx's views. Introduction. Social stratification refers to the structured ranking of individuals and groups based on unequal access to wealth, power, and prestige. Sociologists consider it a universal phenomenon because all known societies past and present display some form of inequality. Whether based on class, caste, race, gender, or ethnicity, stratification organizes society into hierarchical layers that influence people's opportunities, rights, and life chances. Karl Marx's interpretation of stratification remains one of the most influential and critical perspectives in sociological theory. Universality of social stratification. Stratification is universal because every society, regardless of its cultural or economic system, differentiates people into higher and lower groups. This universality is visible in tribal societies, age and kinship ranking, ancient civilizations, slavery, feudal societies, lords and serfs, and modern capitalist societies, social classes. The forms may differ, but the principle of unequal distribution of resources persists. This universality is attributed to several reasons. First, societies require division of labor and leadership roles, which naturally creates differences in rewards and authority. Second, cultural values, customs, and traditions often legitimize social hierarchy. Third, political and legal structures may reinforce existing inequalities through laws, property rights, and institutional practices. As a result, stratification becomes a permanent feature of social organization, though its intensity varies across societies. In the Indian context, the caste system represents a rigid, hereditary, and closed form of stratification, while modern class systems are more open and mobile. Despite constitutional guarantees of equality, inequalities persist due to historical, economic, and social factors. Marx's views on social stratification. Karl Marx viewed social stratification primarily as a product of economic inequality. For him, the fundamental division in society arises from ownership or non-ownership of the means of production. Marx identified two major classes in capitalist societies. Bourgeoisie, the owners of factories, land, and capital. Proletariat, the workers who sell their labor. According to Marx, stratification is not functional but exploitative. The bourgeoisie maintains power by controlling resources, law, ideology, and political institutions. This results in alienation of workers and widening class inequalities. Marx argued that all historical societies from slave systems to feudalism to capitalism are marked by class struggle. For Marx, stratification will disappear only when capitalism is replaced by a classless, communist society in which the means of production are collectively owned. His theory emphasizes conflict, domination, and structural inequality rather than consensus or functional necessity. From a legal perspective, Marx's ideas highlight how economic power influences lawmaking, property rights, labor relations, and political authority. Issues such as corporate influence, unequal access to justice, and labor exploitation reflect Marx's observations even in contemporary societies. Conclusion. Social stratification is universal because every society organizes people into hierarchical groups based on unequal access to resources and opportunities. Marx's view provides a critical explanation by linking stratification to economic exploitation and class conflict. While the forms of inequality have evolved, the underlying tensions between wealth, power, and social justice remain central to understanding modern social systems. 4. Sorokin's views on social stratification. Introduction. Pitti-Rime Sorokin, a prominent sociologist, offered one of the most systematic and comprehensive explanations of social stratification. He described stratification as the vertical division of society into superior and inferior layers, where individuals possess unequal access to social privileges, opportunities, and resources. According to Sorokin, stratification is universal, unavoidable, and present in every known society. His analysis remains foundational because it clearly distinguishes types of stratification, principles of ranking, and patterns of mobility. Concept and characteristics of social stratification. Sorokin defines social stratification as the differentiation of a given population into hierarchically superposed classes. He emphasized that stratification is not accidental but an inherent feature of organized social life. Individuals differ in qualities such as economic resources, political authority, social status, and personal achievements. These differences get institutionalized into structured hierarchies that influence a person's rights, rewards, and obligations. According to Sorokin, stratification exists wherever a society values certain qualities such as wealth, education, power, or honor more than others. People who possess these qualities rank higher, and those who lack them rank lower. This hierarchy produces both privilege and deprivation. Types of social stratification. Sorokin proposed three major types of stratification. 1. Economic stratification. This refers to inequality in income, property, wealth, and material resources. Individuals and groups are ranked based on their economic assets. Modern capitalist societies, with clear divisions between the rich and the poor, demonstrate this form strongly. 2. Political stratification. Political stratification arises from unequal distribution of power and authority. Some individuals or groups hold decision-making positions, while others lack influence. Examples include government officials, political leaders, bureaucrats, and ordinary citizens. 3. Social status stratification. This form is based on prestige, honor, and social esteem. Occupation, education, lifestyle, religious role, and community reputation determine status. The caste system in India is a classical example of rigid status hierarchy. Social mobility and its forms. A significant contribution of Sorokin is his emphasis on social mobility, the movement of individuals or groups from one social position to another. He identified vertical mobility, upward or downward movement in hierarchy, example a laborer becoming a supervisor. Horizontal mobility, movement within the same level, example a teacher shifting schools. Sorokin argued that no society is completely open or completely closed, all societies allow mobility to some degree. However, rigid systems like caste restrict mobility, while class systems permit greater movement. Universality of stratification. Sorokin insisted that stratification is a permanent and universal feature of society. Even in societies that claim equality, inequalities persist in influence, prestige, income, or skills. Thus, stratification is both a structural and psychological reality. Conclusion. Sorokin's explanation of social stratification is notable for its clarity, breadth, and emphasis on mobility. He demonstrated that stratification exists in economic, political, and status forms and is universal to human societies. By highlighting the patterns and consequences of mobility, Sorokin provided tools to analyze both rigid systems like caste and more flexible class-based structures. His work continues to influence sociological and legal understanding of inequality and social hierarchy. 5 problems faced by SC, ST, and OBC in India. Introduction. Scheduled castes, SC, scheduled tribes, ST, and other backward classes, OBC, constitute historically marginalized and disadvantaged sections of Indian society. Despite constitutional guarantees of equality, protective discrimination, and welfare measures, these communities continue to face deep-rooted social, economic, and political challenges. Their problems are rooted in centuries of exclusion, caste hierarchy, exploitation, and lack of access to basic opportunities. Understanding these issues is essential for strengthening social justice and realizing constitutional ideals. 1. Social discrimination and exclusion. SCS, particularly Dalits, have historically faced untouchability, segregation, and exclusion from public spaces, temples, schools, and water sources. Although untouchability is abolished under Article 17, subtle forms of discrimination persist in rural and urban settings. STS often face cultural isolation, stereotyping, and social marginalization due to differences in language, customs, and lifestyle. OBCs, though relatively better placed, also experience discrimination in employment and education because of caste identity. 2. Educational inequalities. A significant challenge for SCS, STS, and OBCs is inadequate access to quality education. High dropout rates, low literacy levels among STS, and lack of educational facilities in remote tribal regions intensify the gap. Social stigma, poverty, and first-generation learner issues deepen this problem. Even with reservation policies, representation in higher education is still limited due to structural barriers such as poor schooling, lack of coaching, and financial constraints. 3. Economic exploitation and poverty. SC communities are often engaged in low-paid, stigmatized, and insecure labor such as sanitation work and manual scavenging. ST groups face displacement due to mining, dams, and industrial projects, leading to loss of land and livelihood. Many OBCs work in informal sectors with low wages and no social security. The lack of assets such as land results in economic dependence, reinforcing vulnerability and exploitation. 4. Atrocities and violence. Crimes against SCS and STS including physical assaults, social boycotts, sexual violence, and honor-based crimes continue despite strict laws like the SC/ST, Prevention of Atrocities, Act, 1989. Many incidents go unreported due to fear of retaliation, police bias, and social pressure. Tribal communities also face violence in the form of land grabbing, forced eviction, and exploitation by forest officials and contractors. 5. Political underrepresentation and weak voice. Though reserved seats exist in legislatures and panchayats, real political empowerment is limited. Dominant castes often influence decision-making, and many representatives lack autonomy. ST groups, especially in northeast and central India, face inadequate recognition of their customary laws and governance structures. 6. Lack of access to healthcare and basic services. Tribal regions often lack hospitals, clean water, transport, and sanitation. Malnutrition, maternal mortality, and diseases like malaria are common among ST populations. SC and OBC communities also face healthcare discrimination and overcrowded government facilities. Conclusion: SCS, STS, and OBCs continue to face interlinked social, economic, and political challenges despite constitutional protection and welfare policies. Eliminating discrimination, ensuring land rights, improving educational and health infrastructure, and strengthening legal enforcement are essential for achieving true social justice. Sustainable development must prioritize these communities to fulfill the constitutional ideals of equality, dignity, and inclusive growth. 6. Are we an egalitarian society? Factors of women empowerment and constitutional rights/protection. Introduction. An egalitarian society is one in which all individuals enjoy equal rights, opportunities, and dignity regardless of gender, caste, class, religion, or social status. Although the Indian Constitution envisions such a society through principles of equality and social justice, real conditions often differ from legal ideals. Women, in particular, experience multiple layers of discrimination in social, economic, and political spheres. Achieving egalitarianism requires both structural reforms and active empowerment of women through education, legal rights, and socio-economic development. Are we an egalitarian society? India has made significant progress in reducing gender inequality, but complete egalitarianism remains aspirational rather than achieved. Social practices such as dowry, gender-based violence, honor killings, and workplace discrimination reflect persistent patriarchal norms. Women face unequal access to education, healthcare, and employment, especially in rural and marginalized communities. Despite constitutional protections, gaps remain between law and practice due to social attitudes, economic dependence, and cultural barriers. Thus, while India legally supports egalitarian values, socially and economically it continues to struggle with gender inequality. Factors of women empowerment. Women empowerment refers to enabling women to gain control over their lives, make decisions freely, and participate equally in society. Key factors include: 1. Education. Education increases awareness, self-confidence, and access to opportunities. It enables women to challenge stereotypes and participate in decision-making. 2. Economic independence. Employment, skill development, and access to financial resources help women achieve autonomy and negotiate equality within the household and workplace. 3. Legal awareness. Knowledge of rights related to inheritance, domestic violence, sexual harassment, and employment is essential for empowerment. Legal literacy programs strengthen women's capacity to seek justice. 4. Political participation. Reservation for women in local self-government and increasing representation in political offices enhance their voice in governance and policy making. 5. Social support and changing norms. Supportive family structures, community initiatives, media representation, and movements challenging patriarchal norms contribute to empowerment and greater equality. Constitutional rights and protections for women. The Indian Constitution provides comprehensive safeguards to promote gender equality and protect women's rights. Fundamental rights. Article 14, Equality before law, prohibits gender discrimination. Article 15, 3, allows the state to make special provisions for women and children. Article 16, Equality of opportunity in public employment. Article 21, Right to life and personal liberty, including dignity and safety. Directive principles of state policy. Article 39, A, D, ensures adequate livelihood and equal pay for equal work. Article 42, provisions for just and humane working conditions and maternity relief. Article 44, Uniform Civil Code, objective of equal personal laws. Legal protections. Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, 2005. Dowry Prohibition Act, 1961. Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act, 2013. Maternity Benefit Act, 1961, amended 2017. Conclusion. India aspires to be an egalitarian society, but achieving true equality requires continued efforts to challenge patriarchal norms, strengthen legal enforcement, and promote economic and educational opportunities for women. Constitutional safeguards provide a strong foundation, yet real empowerment depends on transforming social attitudes and ensuring women's full participation in every sphere of life. 7. Explain the need for social control. Discuss integrative and disintegrative means of social conflict. Introduction. Social control refers to the various mechanisms, formal and informal, through which society regulates individual behavior, maintains order, and ensures conformity to accepted norms and values. Without social control, individuals might act solely on personal desires, leading to chaos, conflict, and breakdown of social harmony. Social conflict, though often seen as disruptive, can also have constructive, integrative, and destructive, disintegrative, consequences. Understanding these aspects is essential for maintaining stability in a complex society like India. Need for social control. 1. Maintenance of social order. Society cannot function without a predictable and orderly environment. Social control helps prevent deviant behavior, thereby ensuring peace and stability in social life. 2. Regulation of individual behavior. Human desires are unlimited, and without restraint, individuals may harm others or violate norms. Social control guides behavior through laws, customs, religion, and moral expectations. 3. Social integration and cohesion. By promoting shared norms and values, social control helps integrate individuals into society and strengthens collective identity. Institutions like family, school, and law play a key role in this integration. 4. Prevention of social disorganization. Rapid social change, urbanization, and modernization may lead to confusion and breakdown of traditional norms. Social control helps reduce such disorganization by providing guidelines and sanctions. 5. Protection of rights and social justice. Legal control through constitutional safeguards ensures that individual rights are protected, disputes are resolved peacefully, and justice is delivered. This is vital in a democratic society governed by the rule of law. Integrative and disintegrative means of social conflict. Social conflict refers to struggles between individuals or groups due to differing interests, values, or resources. It can lead to both integration and disintegration. Integrative, constructive, effects of social conflict. Not all conflict is harmful, some conflicts strengthen society. 1. Brings social awareness and reform. Conflicts draw attention to inequalities and injustices. Movements for women's rights, Dalit rights, and labor justice arise from conflict and lead to legal and social reforms. 2. Strengthens group solidarity. Conflict often unites members of a group. For example, tribal groups may unite during land rights disputes, strengthening collective identity. 3. Encourages adaptation and change. Conflict pushes society to adapt to new needs, revise outdated laws, and modernize institutions. This promotes long-term stability. Disintegrative, destructive, effects of social conflict. Some conflicts weaken society and disrupt harmony. 1. Social division and hostility. Caste conflicts, communal riots, and political polarization create mistrust and weaken social unity. 2. Violence and social disorder. Conflicts may lead to crime, mob violence, destruction of property, and breakdown of law and order. 3. Weakening of institutions. Continuous conflict undermines the authority of institutions like government, police, and judiciary, reducing their ability to maintain social control. Conclusion. Social control is essential for regulating behavior, maintaining order, and achieving social cohesion. Social conflict, although often perceived negatively, plays a dual role, serving as an instrument for reform and integration or causing division and disorganization. Effective social control balances these aspects by reducing destructive conflict while allowing constructive change, thereby ensuring a stable and progressive society. 8. No one rules, if no one obeys. Features and means of social control. Introduction. The statement "no one rules, if no one obeys" highlights a fundamental principle of social control. Authority exists only when people accept and follow rules, norms, and laws. Social control refers to the processes by which society regulates individual behavior to maintain order, stability, and conformity. Without obedience to shared norms, whether enforced by customs or by law, society would face disorder and conflict. Thus, social control is essential for harmonious social life and the functioning of institutions such as family, law, government, and education. Features of social control. 1. Regulates behavior. The primary feature of social control is regulating individual behavior to ensure that actions align with societal expectations. It prevents deviant or harmful behavior through norms, sanctions, and laws. 2. Ensures social order and stability. Social control maintains discipline and order within society. By promoting cooperation and discouraging conflict, it creates a stable environment necessary for social functioning. 3. Universal and continuous process. Every society, traditional or modern, uses social control. It operates continuously through childhood, adulthood, and social institutions, shaping behavior throughout life. 4. Uses rewards and punishments. Social control functions through positive sanctions, praise, rewards, recognition, and negative sanctions, fines, criticism, imprisonment. These influence individuals to conform. 5. Can be formal or informal. Formal control is exercised through law, police, courts, and government. Informal control operates through customs, traditions, family, religion, and public opinion. 6. Aims at social integration. By promoting shared values and unity, social control helps integrate individuals into society and strengthens collective identity. Means of social control. A. Informal means of social control. These arise from social groups and cultural practices and are effective in everyday life. 1. Family. The family is the primary agency of informal control, teaching discipline, manners, and moral values. 2. Religion. Religion influences behavior through moral teachings, rituals, fear of divine punishment, and the promise of spiritual reward. 3. Customs and traditions. Social customs guide acceptable behavior. For example, marriage rituals, greetings, and dress codes regulate social conduct. 4. Education and socialization. Schools instill discipline, citizenship, cooperation, and respect for law, shaping behavior from an early age. 5. Public opinion. Society collectively approves or condemns actions, influencing individuals through social pressure and reputation. B. Formal means of social control. These are institutional and legally enforced. 1. Law. Law is the most powerful formal means, prescribing rules of conduct and punishment for violations. Articles 14, 21, and criminal laws ensure order and protect rights. 2. Police and administration. Law enforcement agencies maintain public order and enforce rules through authority and coercion. 3. Courts and judiciary. Courts interpret laws, protect fundamental rights, and impose penalties, ensuring justice and accountability. 4. Government and state. The state creates policies, regulations, and governance structures that guide social behavior and maintain stability. Conclusion. The statement "no one rules, if no one obeys" emphasizes that social order depends on voluntary and enforced obedience to norms and laws. Social control, both informal and formal, ensures discipline, protects rights, and promotes social harmony. Without effective social control, neither authority nor society can function, making it an essential element of social life. 9. Role of social control and its means. Introduction. Social control refers to the processes, institutions, and mechanisms through which society regulates individual behavior and maintains conformity to established norms and laws. It ensures social order, stability, and predictability in human behavior. Without social control, society would experience chaos, conflict, and breakdown of collective life. Thus, social control is essential for the functioning of institutions such as family, law, economy, and government. Role of social control. 1. Maintenance of social order. The primary role of social control is to maintain discipline and order in society. By regulating behavior and discouraging violations of norms, social control prevents chaos and ensures peaceful coexistence. 2. Promotion of social conformity. Social control encourages individuals to follow accepted customs, values, and rules. Conformity reduces conflicts, promotes cooperation, and strengthens social cohesion. 3. Protection of rights and justice. Through legal institutions such as courts, police, and the Constitution, social control protects individual rights and ensures justice. It provides mechanisms to resolve disputes and prevent exploitation. 4. Social integration and harmony. By promoting shared norms and values, social control integrates diverse groups and reduces social tension. Institutions like family, school, and religion help individuals internalize societal values. 5. Prevention of deviance. Social control regulates undesirable or harmful behavior by using sanctions such as punishment, criticism, and legal penalties. This discourages crime, corruption, violence, and antisocial activities. 6. Facilitating social change. Although social control preserves order, it also supports positive social change. Laws against dowry, domestic violence, and discrimination help society move toward equality and justice. Means of social control. Means of social control are divided into informal and formal mechanisms. A. Informal means of social control. 1. Family. Family is the earliest and most effective agency of informal control. It teaches discipline, values, responsibility, and acceptable behavior. 2. Religion. Religion influences conduct through moral teachings, fear of divine punishment, and social expectations of purity, honesty, and charity. 3. Tradition and customs. Customs such as marriage rituals, dress codes, and social manners regulate behavior without legal enforcement. 4. Education and socialization. Schools and colleges instill civic values, respect for law, cooperation, and responsibility. 5. Public opinion. Praise, criticism, reputation, and social approval or disapproval influence individuals to act in socially acceptable ways. B. Formal means of social control. 1. Law. Law is the strongest formal mechanism of control. It prescribes rules of conduct and penalties for violations. Articles 14, 19, and 21 ensure rights and regulate behavior. 2. Police and administration. These institutions enforce laws, maintain order, and prevent crime through authority and state power. 3. Courts and judiciary. Courts interpret laws, deliver justice, settle disputes, and uphold constitutional values. 4. Government and state institutions. The state regulates economic activities, public behavior, and social welfare through policies, governance, and regulations. Conclusion. Social control plays a vital role in maintaining order, protecting rights, and ensuring cooperation in society. Through both informal mechanisms like family and public opinion, as well as formal institutions like law and government, social control regulates behavior and guides individuals towards social harmony. It is indispensable for peaceful, just, and stable social life. 10. What is social control? Examine the features and means of social control. Introduction. Social control refers to the mechanisms, processes, and institutions through which society regulates the behavior of individuals and maintains conformity to accepted norms, rules, and values. It is essential for maintaining order, preventing deviance, and ensuring that individuals behave in ways that support social stability. Without social control, society would face disorder, conflict, and breakdown of collective life. Both formal institutions like law and informal influences like family and tradition play crucial roles in controlling behavior. Meaning of social control. Social control is the system of regulating individual and group behavior to ensure compliance with society's norms and laws. It includes formal mechanisms such as courts, police, and government, as well as informal means like customs, religion, and social pressure. The purpose is not only to prevent deviant behavior but also to promote cooperation, discipline, and social harmony. Features of social control. 1. Regulates individual behavior. Social control guides and restricts individual actions so they align with societal expectations. It prevents harmful or antisocial behavior. 2. Ensures social order and stability. By controlling behavior, society maintains peace, predictability, and stability, which are essential for collective functioning. 3. Universal in nature. Every society, primitive or modern, uses social control. It is necessary for survival, cohesion, and continuity of social life. 4. Uses positive and negative sanctions. Rewards, praise, recognition, and punishments, fines, imprisonment, criticism, are used to enforce conformity. 5. Involves both formal and informal mechanisms. Formal agencies such as law and government operate alongside informal agencies like family, religion, customs, and peer groups. 6. Continuous process. Social control operates throughout life. From childhood to adulthood, individuals are constantly shaped by institutions and social expectations. Means of social control. Means of social control are broadly divided into informal and formal mechanisms. A. Informal means of social control. 1. Family. The primary agent of socialization. It instills discipline, values, manners, and acceptable behavior. 2. Religion. Religion influences actions through moral teachings, rituals, and fear of divine judgment or spiritual reward. 3. Customs and traditions. Customs such as greetings, dress patterns, marriage rituals, and social etiquette regulate behavior without written rules. 4. Education. Schools teach civic responsibility, discipline, cooperation, and respect for law. 5. Public opinion. Praise, criticism, and community approval or disapproval influence individuals to follow accepted norms. B. Formal means of social control. 1. Law. Law is the strongest formal mechanism. It prescribes rules and applies sanctions for violations. It protects rights and ensures justice. 2. Police and enforcement agencies. They enforce laws, maintain order, and prevent crime through authority and state power. 3. Courts and judiciary. Courts interpret laws, resolve disputes, impose penalties, and safeguard constitutional rights. 4. Government and administrative bodies. The state regulates behavior through policies, rules, regulations, and administrative decisions. Conclusion. Social control is essential for regulating behavior, maintaining order, and ensuring social harmony. Through both informal mechanisms like family and religion, and formal institutions like law and government, society enforces norms and protects collective interests. Effective social control not only prevents deviance but also promotes cooperation, stability, and a just social order. 11. Integrative and disintegrative effects of social conflict and formal means of social control. Introduction. Social conflict refers to the struggle between individuals or groups due to opposing interests, values, or resources. While conflict is often associated with violence and disorder, sociologists emphasize that conflict has both integrative and disintegrative consequences depending on its nature and context. To regulate conflict and maintain social stability, societies rely on formal means of social control, primarily law, government, police, and administrative institutions. These mechanisms ensure that conflicts are resolved in a structured and peaceful manner. Integrative effects of social conflict. 1. Promotes social awareness and reform. Conflict highlights grievances and exposes social inequalities. Movements related to women's rights, labor welfare, and anti-caste discrimination emerged because conflict pushed society to address injustice. This leads to progressive legal and social reforms. 2. Strengthens group solidarity. When a group faces threats or injustice, its members often unite. For example, tribal communities may come together to protect land rights, or workers may form unions during disputes. This increases internal cohesion and collective identity. 3. Encourages social change and adaptation. Conflict forces society to revise outdated practices and adapt to new realities. Reforms in personal laws, labor laws, and land rights often arise from prolonged social conflict, promoting long-term stability. 4. Enhances democratic participation. Public debates, protests, and social movements encourage citizens to participate in governance, strengthening democratic values and accountability. Disintegrative effects of social conflict. 1. Social division and polarization. Conflict between castes, religions, or political groups can lead to deep divisions, mistrust, and long-lasting hostility. Communal riots or caste clashes weaken social harmony. 2. Violence and social disorder. Conflicts may escalate into violence, destruction of property, and breakdown of law and order. This threatens public safety and disrupts economic and social life. 3. Weakening of institutions. Continuous conflicts can erode trust in institutions such as courts, police, and government. If unresolved, these tensions reduce the legitimacy of authority and create instability. 4. Psychological stress and fear. Communities affected by violence experience fear, trauma, and insecurity, which negatively impacts social relationships and daily life. Formal means of social control. Formal means are institutional mechanisms enforced by the state to regulate behavior and resolve conflict. 1. Law. Law is the most authoritative means of control. It prescribes rules of conduct and provides sanctions for violations. Constitutional provisions, Articles 14, 19, 21, ensure justice and protect rights during conflicts. 2. Police and enforcement agencies. Police maintain order, prevent violence, enforce laws, and resolve disputes through state authority. They ensure immediate control during conflict situations. 3. Courts and judiciary. Courts interpret law, adjudicate disputes, and protect fundamental rights. They offer an impartial mechanism for resolving conflict, preventing individuals from taking law into their own hands. 4. Government and administration. The state frames policies, regulates public order, and initiates welfare schemes. Administrative bodies manage crises, enforce regulations, and ensure social stability. Conclusion. Social conflict is a natural and unavoidable part of society, producing both integrative and disintegrative outcomes. While constructive conflict can promote reform and unity, destructive conflict threatens stability and harmony. Formal means of social control: law, police, courts, and government play a crucial role in managing conflict, maintaining order, and upholding justice. Effective control ensures that society benefits from the positive aspects of conflict while minimizing its harmful consequences. 12 Forms of social conflict and the nature of social control. Introduction. Social conflict refers to struggles, disagreements, or clashes between individuals or groups due to competing interests, values, or resources. It is a universal feature of society and can appear in various forms ranging from mild disputes to violent confrontations. Because conflict can threaten social order, societies develop systems of social control that regulate behavior, resolve disputes, and prevent chaos. Understanding the forms of social conflict and the nature of control is essential for maintaining peace and stability in a complex social structure. Forms of social conflict. 1. Personal or individual conflict. This occurs between individuals due to personality differences, misunderstandings, jealousy, competition, or incompatible goals. Examples include disputes between neighbors, colleagues, or family members. 2. Group conflict. This arises between social groups such as castes, tribes, religious communities, political factions, or economic classes. Examples include caste tensions, political rivalries, and communal conflicts. 3. Class conflict. Karl Marx emphasized conflict between economic classes: the rich, bourgeoisie, and the working class, proletariat. This involves disputes over wages, working conditions, property rights, and power. 4. Racial and ethnic conflict. This conflict emerges from racial prejudice and discrimination. Examples include tensions between ethnic groups or conflicts over identity, migration, and cultural dominance. 5. Organized conflict. This includes formally structured conflicts such as strikes, agitations, protests, and labor movements. These often involve collective action aimed at achieving economic or political goals. 6. Violent conflict. Violence, riots, terrorism, communal clashes, and mob behavior fall under this category. Such conflict deeply disrupts social order and threatens security. Nature of social control. 1. Regulative and normative. Social control regulates behavior by enforcing norms and expectations. It ensures individuals act according to socially accepted standards. 2. Both formal and informal. Control exists at 2 levels. Informal control through customs, family, religion, peer pressure, and public opinion. Formal control through law, police, government, and the judicial system. 3. Preventive and corrective. Control aims not only to prevent deviant behavior but also to correct it through sanctions, counseling, punishment, and socialization. 4. Universal and continuous. Social control operates in every society from simple tribes to modern democracies and continues throughout an individual's life. 5. Uses rewards and punishments. To ensure conformity, society applies positive sanctions, praise, rewards, and negative sanctions, fines, imprisonment, criticism. 6. Ensures social order. The ultimate nature and purpose of social control is to maintain harmony, peace, and cooperation, preventing destructive conflict and promoting stable social relationships. Conclusion. Social conflict appears in multiple forms: individual, group, class, racial, and violent, each arising from competing interests or inequalities. The nature of social control is to regulate behavior through formal and informal mechanisms, ensuring order, justice, and stability. Effective social control helps society minimize destructive conflict while encouraging peaceful resolution and social harmony. 13. Explain factors of social change with emphasis on technology, law, and mass media. Introduction. Social change refers to significant alterations in the structure, behavior, values, and functioning of society over time. These changes may occur gradually or rapidly and are influenced by multiple factors: economic, cultural, demographic, technological, legal, and media-related. In modern societies, technology, law, and mass media have emerged as the most powerful drivers of transformation, shaping social interactions, institutions, and individual behavior. General factors of social change. 1. Economic factors. Industrialization, urbanization, growth of markets, and new economic opportunities influence social mobility, occupational patterns, lifestyles, and family structures. 2. Cultural factors. Beliefs, customs, values, and traditions play a major role. Cultural diffusion, education, and reform movements bring progressive change in society. 3. Demographic factors. Changes in population size, age distribution, migration, and literacy levels affect social organization and resource distribution. 4. Environmental and natural factors. Natural disasters, climate change, and geographical conditions force societies to adapt, migrate, or reorganize. Technology as a factor of social change. Technology is one of the most influential agents of modern social transformation. 1. Changes in communication. Mobile phones, the internet, and social media have revolutionized communication. They enable instant information exchange, virtual communities, and global awareness. 2. Transformation of work and economy. Automation, digital platforms, and artificial intelligence have changed employment patterns, skill requirements, and workplace structures. 3. Impact on family and social relations. Technology influences parenting, education, marriage choices, and interpersonal relationships. Online learning and digital workspaces reshape family roles. 4. Healthcare and lifestyle. Medical advancements increase life expectancy, reduce mortality, and change attitudes toward health and well-being. Overall, technology accelerates social change by altering everyday routines, production methods, and social expectations. Law as a factor of social change. Law is a formal and authoritative instrument of social change. 1. Protection of rights. Constitutional rights, Articles 14, 15, 17, 19, 21, ensure equality, dignity, and justice, challenging discriminatory practices like untouchability, child marriage, and dowry. 2. Social reform laws. Legislation such as the Domestic Violence Act, Dowry Prohibition Act, Right to Education Act, and environmental protection laws have transformed social behavior and strengthened citizens' rights. 3. Promotion of equality and justice. Laws related to reservation, labor welfare, gender justice, and child protection address structural inequalities and uplift marginalized groups. 4. Regulation of modern institutions. Cyber laws, consumer protection laws, and data privacy regulations shape modern social and economic relationships. Thus, law acts as both a corrective and progressive force in society. Mass media as a factor of social change. Mass media including newspapers, television, films, radio, and digital platforms shapes opinions, behavior, and public awareness. 1. Spread of information. Media plays a vital role in creating awareness about government schemes, legal rights, health, and social issues. 2. Changing social values. Through movies, debates, advertisements, and campaigns, media promotes new values related to gender equality, environmental protection, and human rights. 3. Public opinion and democratic participation. Media influences elections, political debates, and policy discussions. It empowers citizens to hold authorities accountable. 4. Social movements and mobilization. Social media platforms enable mass mobilization for causes such as anti-corruption, women's rights, climate activism, and justice campaigns. Conclusion. Social change is shaped by numerous factors, but technology, law, and mass media play the most transformative roles in contemporary society. Technology reshapes communication and lifestyles, law promotes justice and reforms, and mass media influences attitudes and mobilizes public action. Together, they accelerate social transformation and help societies progress toward equality, awareness, and modernization. 14. Social change, theories and factors. Introduction. Social change refers to the significant and lasting transformation in the structure, behavior, norms, values, and institutions of society. These changes may be gradual or rapid and may occur due to internal or external forces. Social change is a universal and continuous process, essential for the growth and adaptation of society. Sociologists have developed various theories to explain why and how change occurs, and several factors economic, technological, cultural, legal, and demographic contribute to shaping the direction and pace of change. Theories of social change. 1. Evolutionary theory. This theory views social change as a gradual, cumulative, and progressive development of society from simple to complex forms. Early thinkers like Auguste Comte, Herbert Spencer, and Durkheim argued that societies evolve through stages. For example, Spencer compared society to a biological organism growing through differentiation and specialization. Evolutionary theory emphasizes order, progress, and natural development. 2. Conflict theory. Karl Marx proposed that social change results from conflict between classes with opposing interests, primarily between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. According to this theory, inequality, exploitation, and struggle drive structural transformation. Revolutions, labor movements, and social justice reforms arise from conflict. Hence, change is not gradual but often abrupt and radical. 3. Cyclical theory. Thinkers like Oswald Spengler and Pitirim Sorokin argued that societies pass through cycles of growth, maturity, decline, and decay similar to biological organisms. Civilizations rise and fall repeatedly. According to Sorokin, societies oscillate between ideational, spiritual, and sensate, materialistic, cultures. Change is therefore repetitive and nonlinear. 4. Functionalist theory. Functionalists such as Parsons state that social change occurs when institutions adjust to maintain equilibrium. Society is a system of interdependent parts, and when one part changes, like economy or family, other parts adapt. Change is seen as necessary to restore balance. Factors of social change. 1. Technological factors. Technology is a major driver of modern social change. Innovations like the internet, smartphones, transport, and medical advancements transform communication, education, work, family life, and governance. Technology accelerates modernization and globalization. 2. Economic factors. Changes in production, employment patterns, industrialization, and market expansion influence social mobility, urbanization, lifestyles, and class structure. Economic development often leads to new aspirations and social reforms. 3. Cultural factors. Beliefs, values, customs, and traditions impact the pace of change. Cultural diffusion, education, reform movements, and changing attitudes toward gender, caste, and marriage encourage transformation. 4. Legal and political factors. Law is an instrument of deliberate change. Constitutional rights, labor laws, gender justice legislation, and environmental regulations alter behavior and promote equality. Democratic governance and political movements also influence change. 5. Demographic factors. Population growth, migration, literacy, age distribution, and urbanization affect social roles, family patterns, resource use, and institutional structures. 6. Environmental factors. Natural calamities, climate change, and geographical conditions compel societies to adapt socially and economically. Conclusion. Social change is a complex process shaped by various theories and influenced by multiple factors. While evolutionary and functionalist theories emphasize gradual adaptation, conflict, and cyclical theories highlight struggle and repetition. Technology, economy, culture, law, and demography remain key forces driving contemporary change. Together, they shape the direction, speed, and nature of social transformation in modern society. 15. How mass media and law affect social change. Introduction. Social change refers to significant and lasting alterations in social structure, behavior, values, and institutions. In modern societies, the pace of change is heavily influenced by two powerful forces, mass media and law. Mass media shapes public opinion, spreads information, and influences attitudes, while law acts as an authoritative instrument for reform and regulation. Together, they play a central role in driving social transformation and ensuring justice, awareness, and modernization. Role of mass media in social change. 1. Creates awareness and educates the public. Mass media, television, radio, newspapers, films, and digital platforms disseminates information on social issues such as health, education, gender equality, environment, and human rights. Awareness campaigns on sanitation, Swachh Bharat, pulse polio, road safety, and legal rights contribute to behavioral change and community improvement. 2. Shapes attitudes, values, and public opinion. Media influences how people think about social norms. Movies, debates, News coverage and advertisements challenge traditional beliefs and promote progressive values such as women's empowerment, environmental responsibility, and anti-corruption ethics. As a result, the media acts as a catalyst for changing social attitudes. 3. Provides a platform for social movements. Social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube enable mobilization for public causes. Movements like #MeToo, climate activism, and campaigns for justice demonstrate how digital media can spark collective action and force institutions to respond. 4. Promotes national integration and cultural exchange. By broadcasting diverse cultures, languages, and lifestyles, mass media reduces prejudices and fosters unity. It helps overcome regional, religious, and caste barriers by presenting shared national and human values. 5. Acts as a watchdog. Investigative journalism exposes corruption, human rights violations, and abuses of power. By holding institutions accountable, media promotes transparency and demands reform. Role of law in social change. One instrument of social reform. Law deliberately shapes behavior by prohibiting harmful practices and encouraging progress. Laws such as the Dowry Prohibition Act, Domestic Violence Act, and Child Marriage Restraint Act challenge entrenched customs and protect vulnerable groups. 2. Ensures equality and justice. Constitutional rights Articles 14, 15, 17, 19, and 21 promote equality, dignity, liberty, and non-discrimination. These legal principles drive change by reforming discriminatory practices related to caste, gender, religion, and disability. 3. Regulates modern social and economic life. New areas like cybercrime, data privacy, consumer protection, labor rights, and environmental regulation require updated laws. These laws respond to technological advancements and changing social needs. 4. Protects rights and resolves conflict. Courts and legal mechanisms address disputes, punish wrongdoing, and uphold rights. Legal remedies empower individuals to fight injustice, leading to broader social transformation. 5. Promotes social welfare. Welfare laws related to education, ROOT Act, health, maternity benefits, reservations, and employment guarantee, MNREGA, uplift marginalized communities and reduce inequality. Conclusion. Mass media and law are among the most influential drivers of social change in contemporary society. While mass media transforms attitudes, spreads awareness, and mobilizes public opinion, law institutionalizes reform, protects rights, and ensures justice. Together, they shape a society that is more informed, equitable, and responsive to emerging challenges. 16. Discuss the problems faced by tribal and rural communities. Suggest remedies. Introduction. Tribal and rural communities form a significant part of India's population and contribute richly to its cultural and economic diversity. Despite their importance, these communities face multiple social, economic, and political challenges due to geographical isolation, historical neglect, limited access to resources, and structural inequalities. Understanding their problems and suggesting practical remedies is essential for achieving inclusive development and social justice. Problems faced by tribal communities. 1. Land alienation and displacement. Tribal groups often lose their land due to mining, industries, and infrastructure projects. Displacement leads to loss of livelihood, cultural disintegration, and poverty. In many cases, compensation is inadequate or delayed. 2. Poverty and economic exploitation. Most tribal people depend on forests, agriculture, or manual labor. Low income, lack of employment opportunities, and exploitation by money lenders and contractors make them economically vulnerable. 3. Lack of education. Literacy rates among tribal communities remain low due to lack of schools, language barriers, and poor educational facilities. Many children drop out early due to poverty or migration. 4. Health problems and malnutrition. Remote locations, inadequate healthcare facilities, malnutrition, and prevalence of diseases such as malaria and tuberculosis severely affect tribal populations. 5. Social exclusion and cultural erosion. Tribal communities often face discrimination, stereotyping, and cultural marginalization. Their languages, customs, and traditional practices are declining due to outside influence and forced assimilation. Problems faced by rural communities. 1. Agricultural distress. Most rural households depend on agriculture, which is affected by droughts, low productivity, fragmented land holdings, lack of irrigation, and fluctuating market prices. This leads to indebtedness and farmer suicides. 2. Poverty and unemployment. Limited non-agricultural employment opportunities lead to widespread underemployment, seasonal migration, and economic instability. 3. Inadequate healthcare and sanitation. Rural areas face shortages of doctors, hospitals, medicines, and sanitation facilities. Diseases spread easily due to poor hygiene and lack of awareness. 4. Lack of education and digital divide. Many rural schools lack infrastructure, qualified teachers, and digital resources. Girls face additional challenges due to gender norms and safety concerns. 5. Gender inequality. Women in rural areas experience restricted mobility, limited access to property, unpaid labor, domestic violence, and low representation in decision-making. Suggested remedies. 1. Land rights and rehabilitation. Strict enforcement of laws protecting tribal land, such as the Forest Rights Act, and fair rehabilitation for displaced families are essential. 2. Education and skill development. Setting up multilingual schools, strengthening midday meal schemes, providing scholarships, and establishing vocational training centers can improve employability. 3. Improved healthcare facilities. Mobile clinics, trained community health workers, awareness programs, and better nutrition schemes can reduce health issues. 4. Economic empowerment. Encouraging self-help groups, SHGs, providing microfinance, supporting tribal handicrafts, and promoting rural entrepreneurship will improve income levels. 5. Agricultural support. Ensuring minimum support prices, MSP, irrigation facilities, crop insurance, and access to credit can reduce agricultural distress. 6. Infrastructure development. Better roads, electricity, water supply, digital connectivity, and market access can significantly improve rural and tribal livelihoods. 7. Protection of culture. Government and NGOs should promote tribal languages, traditional practices, and cultural rights through community-led programs. Conclusion. Tribal and rural communities face deep-rooted challenges related to poverty, land rights, health, education, discrimination, and lack of opportunities. Through strong legal protection, inclusive development policies, improved infrastructure, and community participation, these challenges can be effectively addressed. Ensuring justice and empowerment for tribal and rural groups is essential for building an equitable and democratic society. 17. How does social media impact court cases? Introduction. Social media has become a powerful platform for communication, public expression, and information sharing. Its influence extends beyond social interactions into legal processes and court proceedings. While social media can promote transparency and access to information, it also raises serious concerns related to fair trials, prejudgment of cases, evidence integrity, and judicial independence. Understanding its impact is crucial in the modern legal system. Positive impacts of social media on court cases. 1. Enhances public awareness and transparency. Social media provides instant updates about important cases, legal developments, and court decisions. This increases public understanding of law and fosters transparency in judicial functioning. 2. Facilitates access to evidence. Posts, photos, videos, and digital footprints shared on social platforms often serve as crucial evidence in criminal and civil cases. Courts frequently rely on digital evidence in cases involving defamation, cybercrime, harassment, and fraud. 3. Helps in investigations. Police and investigating agencies use social media to track suspects, gather leads, verify identities, and monitor activities. Many crimes have been solved through social media tracking. 4. Platform for social justice movements. Campaigns like #MeToo, #JusticeForNirbaya, and others bring public attention to legal issues and encourage victims to speak out. This can lead to legal reforms and speed up judicial action. Negative impacts of social media on court cases. 1. Trial by media. Social media often creates public opinion before courts deliver judgments. This trial by media can influence perceptions of guilt or innocence, potentially jeopardizing the right to a fair trial under Article 21. 2. Prejudicial information. Viral content may reveal confession videos, leaked evidence, or biased narratives. Such information can influence witnesses, jurors, in jury systems, and even judicial officers, indirectly affecting the case outcome. 3. Threat to judicial independence. Judges may face public pressure, trolling, or social media campaigns criticizing ongoing proceedings. This can undermine judicial independence and create an environment of fear or bias. 4. Risk of contempt of court. Publishing sensitive or misleading information about ongoing cases may amount to contempt of court. Influencers and media outlets sometimes violate reporting restrictions, affecting due process. 5. Manipulated or fake evidence. Social media content can be edited, fabricated, or taken out of context. Courts must verify authenticity, which complicates evidence evaluation and raises questions about reliability. Legal safeguards and judicial response. 1. Indian Evidence Act, Amendments. Electronic records are admissible under Section 65B, but they require proper certification. 2. Contempt of Courts Act, 1971. Controls prejudicial reporting and protects judicial dignity. 3. Judicial guidelines on media reporting. Courts often issue gag orders, restrict publication of sensitive details, and caution against speculative reporting. 4. Need for digital literacy and regulation. Stronger policies are required to regulate false information without violating freedom of speech under Article 19, 1a. Conclusion. Social media significantly influences court cases by offering valuable evidence, enhancing awareness, and supporting investigative efforts. However, it also poses risks to fair trials, judicial independence, and evidence credibility. Balancing freedom of expression with the right to a fair trial is essential. Responsible use of social media, combined with strict legal safeguards, is necessary to ensure justice is protected in the digital age. 18. Marriage as an institution is losing its hold. Discuss changes and various forms of marriage. Introduction. Marriage is a socially approved union between two individuals that regulates sexual relations, reproduction, kinship, and property rights. Traditionally seen as a sacred and permanent institution, marriage has undergone significant transformation due to modernization, urbanization, education, legal reforms, and changing value systems. These changes have weakened the rigid traditional hold of marriage and given rise to diverse forms and patterns of marital relationships in contemporary society. How marriage as an institution is losing its hold. 1. Decline of traditional authority. Earlier, marriages were arranged by elders, and obedience to family norms was expected. With greater individual freedom and decision-making power, young people increasingly prefer choosing. Marriage as an institution is losing its hold. Changes and types of marriage. Introduction. Marriage is a socially and legally recognized union that regulates sexual relations, reproduction, kinship, property, and social order. In traditional societies, marriage was considered sacred, permanent, and obligatory. However, with modernization, education, urbanization, and legal reforms, the nature, meaning, and importance of marriage have undergone significant transformation. These changes have weakened the rigid hold of the institution, giving rise to more flexible and diverse marital arrangements. Changes in marriage. 1. Shift from arranged to love marriages. Earlier, families played a dominant role in selecting partners, prioritizing caste, religion, and social status. Today, individual choice, emotional compatibility, and mutual consent have gained importance, especially in urban areas. 2. Increased age at marriage. Education, career priorities, financial independence, and awareness of personal rights have led to delayed marriages. 3. Changing gender roles. Women now participate in education and employment, reducing dependence on husbands. Shared decision-making, equal rights, and greater negotiation within the marriage have become more common. 4. Decline of joint families. Nuclear families are increasing. Traditional controls and obligations associated with joint families are gradually weakening. 5. Rising divorce rates and legal dissolution. Legal provisions for divorce on multiple grounds, along with rising expectations in marriage, have made dissolution easier and socially acceptable. 6. Acceptance of intercaste and interreligious marriages. Greater social mobility and legal protection, Special Marriage Act, have encouraged marriages beyond caste and religious boundaries. 7. Alternative forms of relationships. Live-in relationships, delayed marriages, and voluntary singlehood reflect declining dependence on marriage as a compulsory institution. Types, forms, of marriage. 1. Monogamy. A union between one man and one woman. Relevance today, most common form globally, legally recognized in most modern societies due to stability, equality, and individual rights. 2. Polygyny. One man marries multiple women. Relevance, historically linked to patriarchy and economic status, declining today due to legal restrictions and changing values. 3. Polyandry. One woman marries multiple men. Relevance, very rare, seen in some Himalayan communities due to economic constraints, now disappearing. 4. Endogamy. Marriage within the same caste, religion, or community. Relevance, still widely practiced in rural India, though declining due to education and social mobility. 5. Exogamy. Marriage outside one's group or clan. Relevance, clan exogamy is mandatory in many communities, intercaste marriages are gradually becoming more accepted. 6. Love marriage. Marriage based on mutual attraction and choice rather than family decision. Relevance, increasing rapidly in urban India due to individualism and modern values. 7. Arranged marriage. Families choose partners based on caste, culture, and social background. Relevance, still dominant in many Indian communities but more flexible, allowing the couple veto power. 8. Live-in relationship, emerging form. A man and woman cohabit without formal marriage. Relevance, increasing among youth, legally protected by courts under certain circumstances, example domestic violence protection. Conclusion. Marriage as an institution is undergoing major transformation due to economic, social, legal, and cultural changes. While its traditional authority has weakened, marriage continues to remain socially significant though now more flexible, diverse, and based on individual choice rather than rigid norms. This reflects the broader shift towards equality, autonomy, and modernization in contemporary society. 19. What are social institutions? With reference to education and family. Introduction. Social institutions are organized and established systems of social relationships that meet the basic needs of society. They provide structure, stability, and continuity to social life. Institutions such as family, education, religion, economy, and law regulate human behavior through norms, roles, and shared expectations. They help societies function smoothly by guiding and organizing the actions of individuals. Meaning of social institutions. A social institution is a complex, integrated set of norms, values, statuses, and roles that fulfills important social functions. Institutions arise because human needs biological, economic, emotional, and cultural must be systematically met. They influence behavior, maintain social order, and ensure the transmission of culture from one generation to the next. One family as a social institution. Meaning. Family is the most fundamental and universal social institution. It is a group related by blood, marriage, or adoption, living together and sharing emotional and economic ties. Functions of the family. A. Biological and reproductive function. The family ensures reproduction and continuity of society through childbirth. B. Socialization of children. Family is the first agency of social control and learning. It teaches language, values, morality, and social roles. C. Economic support. Families provide financial support, division of labor, and resource sharing. D. Emotional security. Family offers love, affection, care, and psychological support. E. Social and legal recognition. Marriage and family determine kinship, inheritance, legitimacy of children, and property rights. Changing nature of the family. Urbanization and modernization have shifted families from joint to nuclear structures. Gender roles are changing, women participate in employment, and the family is becoming more democratic and less patriarchal. Despite these changes, the family remains central to social life. 2. Education as a social institution. Meaning. Education is a formal and informal process through which knowledge, skills, values, and cultural traditions are transmitted from one generation to the next. Schools, colleges, and universities are major educational institutions. Functions of education. A. Transmission of culture. Education preserves and passes on cultural values, language, customs, and traditions. B. Socialization and personality development. Schools teach discipline, cooperation, citizenship, and social norms. They shape attitudes and behavior. C. Economic and skill development. Education prepares individuals for employment through knowledge and professional skills. It contributes to economic growth. D. Social mobility and equality. Education reduces inequalities by providing opportunities for advancement, especially for marginalized groups through reservation and welfare schemes. E. Social control. Through rules, discipline, and moral instruction, education regulates behavior and promotes responsible citizenship. F. National development. Education fosters scientific thinking, democratic values, and national integration. Conclusion. Social institutions such as family and education are essential pillars of society. Family provides emotional, social, and biological foundations, while education develops skills, knowledge, and social values. Together, they shape individuals and ensure the stability, continuity, and progress of society. Despite changes brought by modernization, both institutions remain vital for social order and human development. 20. Kinship system and its importance. Introduction. Kinship is one of the most fundamental organizing principles of society. It refers to the social relationships that arise from blood ties, consanguinity, marriage, affinity, or adoption. Kinship structures regulate family organization, inheritance, residence, succession, and social behavior. In traditional societies, especially in India, kinship determines identity, obligations, and patterns of interaction, making it a core element of social structure. Meaning of kinship. The kinship system is a network of relationships among individuals based on descent or marriage. It includes categories such as parents, children, grandparents, siblings, cousins, in-laws, and extended relatives. Kinship determines the position of individuals in a social hierarchy and defines the rights and duties they owe to one another. Types of kinship. 1. Consanguine kinship, blood relations. These include relationships based on biological ties: mother, father, son, daughter, brother, sister, etc. 2. Affinal kinship, marriage relations. These arise from marriage, such as husband, wife, father-in-law, sister-in-law, etc. 3. Fictive kinship. Socially created ties that are treated as kin, even without blood or marriage, for example, godparents or close family friends considered aunts/uncles. Importance of kinship. 1. Basis of family and social organization. Kinship determines the structure of family nuclear or joint and organizes relationships within households. It forms the backbone of traditional communities. 2. Regulates marriage rules. Kinship dictates who one can marry or cannot marry. Rules such as endogamy, marriage within the group, and exogamy, marriage outside one's clan or gotra, are based on kinship. It prevents incest and maintains social order. 3. Determines inheritance and succession. Inheritance laws and customs are closely linked to kinship. Property, titles, and social status are passed down through kin networks, patrilineal or matrilineal systems. 4. Social support and security. Kinship groups provide emotional, economic, and social support in times of need: birth, illness, marriage, or death. This system creates a safety net, especially in rural and tribal communities. 5. Basis of social identity. Kinship determines a person's identity, lineage, clan, caste, and community membership. It shapes social roles, responsibilities, and rights from birth. 6. Regulates social behavior. Kinship norms guide how individuals should behave with relatives, such as respect toward elders, joking relationships, avoidance relationships, example between daughter-in-law and father-in-law, and ceremonial obligations. 7. Political and economic functions. In many societies, kinship groups influence decision-making, leadership, and economic cooperation. Tribes and clans often rely on kinship networks to manage resources and resolve conflicts. 8. Cultural continuity. Kinship transmits traditions, rituals, customs, religious beliefs, and cultural practices across generations. Festivals, ceremonies, and life cycle rituals are deeply connected to kinship bonds. Conclusion. The kinship system is a crucial foundation of social life, shaping family structure, marriage practices, inheritance patterns, identity, and cultural continuity. Although modernization has changed the intensity of kinship ties, especially in urban settings, it remains central to social organization, emotional support, and cultural identity in both traditional and contemporary societies. 21 Challenges faced by single parents in society. Introduction. Single-parent families are those in which a child is raised by one parent due to divorce, separation, widowhood, single motherhood/fatherhood by choice, or abandonment. With rising divorce rates, migration, and changing social norms, single-parent households are increasingly common. However, despite growing acceptance, single parents continue to face multiple social, economic, emotional, and legal challenges. These difficulties affect not only the parent but also the overall well-being of the child. 1. Economic challenges. A financial burden. Single parents often become the sole breadwinners. Managing household expenses, childcare, schooling, healthcare, and emergencies with a single income becomes stressful. B. Employment difficulties. Many single parents struggle to maintain stable employment due to childcare responsibilities. long working hours, lack of flexible jobs, and inadequate maternity/paternity support further limit their opportunities. C. Lack of social security. In India, social security benefits for single parents are limited. Accessing welfare schemes often requires extensive paperwork and awareness, which many lack. 2. Emotional and psychological challenges. A. Stress and overload. Balancing work, childcare, household duties, and personal needs creates emotional exhaustion. Single parents often feel overwhelmed due to the absence of a second adult to share responsibilities. B. Social isolation. Single parents may withdraw from social activities due to time constraints or societal judgment. Loneliness and lack of emotional support are common issues. C. Impact on self-esteem. Societal stigma, blame, and stereotypes especially towards single mothers can harm confidence and mental health. 3. Social and cultural challenges. A. Stigma and prejudice. In many traditional communities, single parents, particularly widows, divorced women, or unmarried mothers, face social discrimination. They may be judged as irresponsible or morally wrong. B. School and community bias. Children of single parents may face teasing or assumptions about family instability. Schools may unintentionally discriminate by expecting involvement from both parents. C. Gender-based challenges. Single mothers often face greater stigma and safety concerns, while single fathers may face bias regarding their ability to provide emotional care. 4. Legal and administrative challenges. A. Custody and guardianship issues. Single parents may face prolonged legal battles over child custody, visitation rights, and maintenance. B. Access to government schemes. Documentation requirements, bureaucratic delays, and lack of awareness create obstacles in accessing welfare benefits. C. Property and inheritance issues. Widowed or separated women often struggle with property rights and inheritance due to patriarchal norms. 5. Challenges related to children. A. Emotional adjustment. Children may struggle with feelings of abandonment, confusion, or insecurity due to the absence of one parent. B. Behavioral issues. Stressful environments, financial hardship, and limited parental attention may lead to behavioral challenges. C. Academic pressure. Single parents often juggle multiple roles, which may reduce their ability to support children academically. Conclusion. Single parents face multidimensional challenges shaped by economic pressures, social stigma, emotional stress, and legal hurdles. Addressing these issues requires stronger welfare policies, accessible childcare, flexible work opportunities, and greater societal acceptance. Empowering single-parent families promotes social justice, gender equality, and the overall well-being of future generations. 22. Concept of culture, definition, characteristics and importance. Introduction. Culture is one of the most fundamental concepts in sociology. It refers to the shared beliefs, values, customs, traditions, knowledge, and ways of life that individuals learn as members of society. Culture shapes how people think, behave, and interact. It is transmitted from one generation to another and gives a society its unique identity. Without culture, human behavior would be random, unorganized, and lacking meaning. Concept and definition of culture. Culture includes everything that is created, learned, and shared by human beings. It consists of both material aspects, technology, clothing, tools, buildings, and non-material aspects, language, religion, values, norms, morals, and laws. Sociologists define culture as Edward Tyler, culture is that complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, morals, law, custom, and any other capabilities acquired by humans as members of society. This definition emphasizes that culture is not inherited biologically but learned socially. Culture therefore represents the collective patterns of behavior through which humans adapt to their social environment. Characteristics of culture. 1. Learned behavior. Culture is not innate, it is learned through socialization in family, school, and community. Individuals absorb cultural patterns from childhood onward. 2. Social and shared. Culture belongs to groups, not individuals. People of a society share common beliefs and practices that create unity and identity. 3. Transmitted across generations. Culture is passed from one generation to the next through language, rituals, education, and tradition. 4. Adaptive and dynamic. Culture changes over time. New ideas, technology, laws, and social movements influence cultural transformation. Examples include changing marriage norms, gender roles, and work cultures. 5. Symbolic. Culture uses symbols, language, gestures, art, dress, and rituals to convey meaning. Language is the most important symbolic system. 6. Integrative. All parts of culture, values, norms, institutions are interconnected. A change in one area leads to changes in others. 7. Provides identity. Culture distinguishes one society from another. It gives individuals a sense of belonging and shapes their worldview. Importance of culture. 1. Shapes human behavior. Culture guides behavior through norms and values. It teaches what is right or wrong, acceptable or unacceptable. 2. Ensures social order. Common cultural beliefs create predictability and cooperation in society. Culture provides rules and expectations for social life. 3. Promotes socialization. Culture enables individuals to learn skills, language, customs, and roles necessary for functioning in society. 4. Source of identity and unity. Culture gives individuals a sense of belonging to a community through shared traditions, symbols, and rituals. 5. Facilitates adaptation. Culture helps societies adapt to their environment by developing tools, technology, and customs suited to their needs. 6. Preserves heritage and continuity. Through customs, festivals, art, and rituals, culture preserves historical memory and keeps traditions alive. 7. Shapes law, morality, and institutions. Legal systems, political structures, and moral codes are culturally formed. Culture influences how societies construct justice, family, religion, and governance. Conclusion. Culture is the foundation of social life. It defines how people think, behave, and relate to each other. Its shared, learned, and dynamic nature makes it essential for maintaining social order, identity, and continuity. Even as societies modernize, culture remains the lens through which individuals understand the world and their place within it. 23. Is sociology a science? Scope and relationship with other disciplines. Introduction. Sociology is the systematic and scientific study of human society, social behavior, and social institutions. The question of whether sociology qualifies as a science has been debated since the discipline's origin. While the natural sciences study physical phenomena, sociology studies human interactions. Yet, it uses systematic methods, observation, research techniques, and theoretical frameworks similar to scientific inquiry. Is sociology a science? 1. Systematic methodology. Sociology uses scientific methods such as observation, surveys, sampling, and statistical analysis to study social behavior objectively. 2. Empirical evidence. Like natural sciences, sociology relies on evidence-based conclusions. Sociologists gather data from real social situations and interpret patterns. 3. Objectivity. Although complete objectivity is difficult due to human subjectivity, sociology strives to minimize bias through standardized tools and ethical research procedures. 4. Theoretical frameworks. Sociology uses theories like functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism to explain social phenomena, similar to theories in natural sciences. 5. Predictive ability, limited. Sociology can predict social trends, example crime increase, migration, but not with the precision of natural sciences due to human complexity. Conclusion. Sociology qualifies as a social science, not a natural science. It follows scientific methods but deals with complex human behavior, making it partly scientific and partly interpretative. Scope of sociology. 1. Study of social institutions. Family, marriage, education, religion, law, economy, and polity. 2. Study of social processes. Socialization, cooperation, conflict, assimilation, competition. 3. Study of social groups and communities. Caste, class, race, tribes, rural and urban groups. 4. Study of social change. Industrialization, modernization, social movements, technology, law. 5. Study of social problems. Crime, poverty, gender inequality, unemployment, caste discrimination. Relationship of sociology with other disciplines. 1. Sociology and psychology. Psychology studies individual behavior, sociology studies group behavior. Social psychology links both fields. 2. Sociology and economics. Economics studies production and markets, sociology studies economic behavior, labor, poverty, and class relations. 3. Sociology and political science. Political science studies power and government, Sociology studies political behavior, political socialization, and voters. 4. Sociology and anthropology. Anthropology studies early cultures and tribes, sociology studies modern societies but uses anthropological methods. 5. Sociology and history. History studies past events, sociology analyses how past institutions shape present society. 2. Methods used in sociology and subject matter of sociology. Introduction. Sociology uses scientific and interpretative methods to study human society. Its subject matter covers social relationships, institutions, processes, and patterns of behavior. The combination of methods and wide subject matter makes sociology both analytical and empirical. Methods used in sociology. 1. Historical method. Studies past events, traditions, and institutions to understand present social structures. 2. Comparative method. Compares societies, cultures, groups, or institutions to understand similarities and differences. 3. Observation method. Used in natural settings, participant and non-participant observation to understand behavior realistically. 4. Survey method. The most common method, using questionnaires, interviews, and sampling to collect quantitative data. 5. Case study method. In-depth study of an individual, family, community, or institution to understand complex social problems. 6. Statistical method. Used for classification, tabulation, correlation, and analysis of social data to ensure accuracy and objectivity. 7. Experimental method, limited use. Used in controlled settings, mainly in social psychology. 8. Interview method. Structured and unstructured interviews help gather personal information and attitudes. Subject matter of sociology. 1. Social relationships. Interactions between individuals and groups, cooperation, conflict, competition. 2. Social institutions. Family, marriage, religion, law, education, economy, politics. 3. Social groups and communities. Primary groups, family, secondary groups, organizations, caste, class, race, tribes. 4. Social structure and social system. Roles, statuses, norms, and hierarchy in society. 5. Social processes. Socialization, communication, deviance, control, mobility. 6. Social change. Factors like technology, law, mass media, globalization, urbanization. 7. Social problems. Crime, poverty, corruption, gender inequality, unemployment, communalism. Conclusion. Sociology, as a scientific and systematic discipline, uses multiple research methods to understand society. Its subject matter is vast, covering interactions, institutions, processes, and problems. Its relationship with other social sciences makes it an interdisciplinary and essential field for understanding modern society. 24. Discuss the concept of socialization in depth. Introduction. Socialization is the lifelong process through which individuals learn the values, norms, behaviors, and culture of their society. It is through socialization that a person becomes a functioning member of society. Without socialization, human behavior would be unregulated, instinct-driven, and socially unacceptable. The process ensures continuity of culture and prepares individuals to participate effectively in social, economic, and political life. Meaning and definition of socialization. Socialization is the process by which society shapes the personality, attitudes, and behavior of an individual. It involves learning language, customs, morals, roles, and expectations. According to Horton and Hunt, socialization is the process by which a person learns to participate in social life. Thus, socialization transforms a biological human being into a social being with identity, roles, and social awareness. Stages of socialization. 1. Primary socialization. Takes place during early childhood within the family. Children learn basic behavior, language, norms, emotional control, and gender roles. This stage is crucial in forming personality and character. 2. Secondary socialization. Occurs during later childhood and adulthood. Schools, peer groups, religious institutions, and media teach discipline, cooperation, competition, moral values, and civic responsibility. 3. Adult socialization. Involves adapting to new roles such as marriage, parenthood, employment, or old age. Individuals learn new expectations throughout life. 4. Resocialization. occurs when old behaviors are replaced with new ones, such as in rehabilitation centers, prisons, the military, or during major life changes. Agencies of socialization. 1. Family. The first and most important agent. It teaches language, manners, cultural values, religion, and emotional bonds. 2. School. Provides formal education, discipline, teamwork, and moral training. Teachers become role models. 3. Peer groups. Influence behavior, fashion, interests, and social identity, especially during adolescence. 4. Mass media. Television, internet, social media, and films shape attitudes, aspirations, and public opinion. 5. Religion. Teaches moral values, rituals, beliefs, and ethical behavior. 6. Community and neighborhood. Local customs, festivals, and interactions help individuals understand social expectations. Importance of socialization. 1. Personality development. Socialization shapes emotions, attitudes, reasoning, and identity. 2. Transmission of culture. Society transmits its traditions, beliefs, and values from one generation to another. 3. Social integration and stability. Shared norms and values create unity, cooperation, and social order. 4. Role learning. Individuals understand their roles as children, parents, workers, citizens, etc. 5. Moral and ethical development. Socialization instills concepts of right and wrong, justice, responsibility, and empathy. 6. Adaptation to change. Socialization prepares individuals to face new situations and adjust to evolving social norms. Conclusion. Socialization is fundamental to human development and social continuity. It shapes personality, builds identity, teaches culture, and ensures social cohesion. Throughout life, individuals undergo various stages and forms of socialization that help them function effectively in society. Without socialization, neither individuals nor society can sustain meaningful relationships, order, or progress.